and gentlemen, boys and girls, saints and ain'ts, congratulators, agitators, manipulators, and participators to another episode of The Bigger Picture, also known as the Throne Room. Today we have another esteemed guest in the seat of the esteemed. Very, very warm welcome and appreciation to Detective Robert R., who has served and protected our community for how many years?
I retired in 2007, so it's like the military. When I was in the military, I'll tell you the exact number. It was 20 years, 3 months, 22 days, 8 hours, and 35 minutes.
Thank you for your protection and your service
Thank you.
in this war of morality and chaos. Thank you. I always like to go to the beginning because there is always a consistent evolution going on in all of our developments. So can we talk about your family, you as a child? Where did you grow up?
Oh, I was born in Harlem, but I ended up growing up in East New York, Brooklyn, in Linden houses. And at that time, it was a mixed neighborhood. You had Irish, Italian, Jewish. So most of my friends, it was like the Little Rascals. We had a whole bunch of hang out. You didn't see the racism until I saw later on growing up what it's about. And the sad part about it was when I got a little taste of it, when my Irish friend Kenny said to me, "We're moving to the suburbs and I'm not allowed to talk to you anymore." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Because we're moving. They don't have people like you." And I was like, I went to my mother and she says to me, "They're going to a white neighborhood and they don't want to be associated." He said, "Even though that's your friend, but he's being taught that. It's not his fault. Their parents are telling him that." So it kind of hurt me out. I was a good friend of mine. I wasn't allowed to talk to anymore, play anymore. And that was just the start of the reality because my mother's from the South, the deep South.
How
So,
far deep?
like Bamberg, South Carolina. And my grandmother was born there. My aunt was born there. And Columbia, I have family in Columbia, South Carolina. And they moved from the South like most black people did and migrated north to a better opportunity, which my mother did. And she was hinting about racism, but she didn't really come out. And then when it started to show things, she explained to me. And one day I'll never forget this. She said to me, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but there's 2 strikes to get you in America." I said, "What's that?" They said, "You're black and you're a black man in America, which means you have to be twice as good to be on the same level." And I saw that growing up in life where I was on the same level, but I had to be twice as good to prove a point. Example, I don't know if you were at South Shore High School in the late 70s. It was a majority white high school.
I've heard of it in research.
Okay, and Thomas Jefferson, that was in Brownsville, East New York, Brooklyn. Very bad school back in the day. When I was about to go to high school, my mother said, "I don't want you going to Jefferson, I want you to go to South Shore." I had the GPA to get into South Shore, no problem. So because of zoning, which I call redlining, it prevented me from going to that school. Some mother says, "Okay, we're going to go to the Board of Education to fix that." So we're getting a run around for like a good couple hours. Next thing you know, they call us in the office to see the man. And he gives us the tap dance. "Well, I see your GPA, da 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 da. But I'm sorry, you can't go to this school." My mother goes, "Why?" "Well, he's not zone, this and that, that, whatever." And he goes, "How did your friends get South Shore?" I said, "I ain't snitching, but they lied about their addresses. And I'm not doing that." Right? "Well, sorry, can't help you." So my mother goes, "Well, okay, I'm going to have to make some phone calls." And he's looking at my mother like, "Oh, who are you going to call?" I said, "Well, have you heard of Percy Sutton back in the day?"
Yes.
My friend's name is Percy Sutton, and Senator Cindy Finkel, my mom, very political. And I'm going to see him tonight. All right, so we leave it. Oh, hold on a minute, Mr. Reedy. Hold on a minute. I'll take care of you downstairs. I go downstairs. The lady goes, "Congratulations, you've been accepted to South Shore." I was like, "Oh, really?"
How miraculous is
How
that
miraculous did it
turnaround?
happen? But this was the catch. You're not going to believe this. They said, "Well, you have to take a foreign language." I'm like, "Okay." I'm thinking I'm taking French or Spanish. They said, "You either have to take Russian or German." Before I could say, "Well, he'll take German." Just like that. Then they made me start 3 weeks late.
Mm.
They wanted me to fail.
They were laying the groundwork for your failure.
Right.
Mm.
So my mother said to me, listen, prove yourself to these people that you're just on the same level as them. So I was getting into bed 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, studying to the point I caught up. So when the teacher asked a question about catching a ride, he was so impressed. And there was people that was there from the beginning didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, take an example from this young man that's studying hard. Now the German part was a little difficult, but it ended up being that I ended up getting up 85 on the regions. For a person that, my teacher told me, you just take that as an elective in college. I probably should speak Hotel das Veta, I take the slave, little words as if I know that it's been so long. So I had to prove myself that I belonged there. Also, I was on the wrestling team, the track team. And then when I about to turn 17, that's the dilemma where you have to make it. You go to college, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, you know what? I would like to see the world. I would like to travel. The Marine, the Air Force, the Navy was the more optional because they're always moving, in a sense. So I graduated from the prestigious Carnegie Hall. That's the graduation. My mother was so proud of me. She said, oh, I'm so proud of you, son. What are you going to do? So I ended up joining the military. And let me tell you, I ain't gonna lie, I was a knucklehead. I was like a little gangster with the belt buckle back in the day. You know, the hip hop with your name on it. The Kango had the L juice. So I go to boot camp thinking like, yo, son, you know, I'm so good, blah, blah. They broke me down. I got there and they hated New Yorkers. Anybody you know in the military will tell you, if you're from New York, they hate you. They get in your ass. To the point they make me doing push-ups forever, jumping jacks, to the point you can fight. And it gave me the discipline also. It changed my mindset. Then I went all around the world, Hobart, Tasmania, Singapore, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Guam. I went all over, right? And it gave me a different mindset when I came back. Because all I remember was the PJs and whatever, hanging with my friends. So that's when crack had hit New York.
So about 1986,
85? It
85?
was like the 80s, yeah, around that time. So I would see my friends pull up with these, you know, remember the Maxima, the box Maxima with the skirts on? I see my friends pull the booming system. I'm like, yo, what's up, kid? It's all good, blah, blah, blah. Yo, man, I'm getting this money, son. Nah, nah, nah. I'm like, well, what are you doing? They're hustling. They say, yo, you family. I give you 3 a day just to be in the corner looking for the man. Very tempting. When you're going to, now I'm going to college at the time, or working a job, making minimum wage, trying to do what I do. Very tempting. You calculate 3 times 7 times a month. That's some good money. Then I said to them, no disrespect, but I can't sell poison to my people. I can't.
While you were overseas, did you know what was happening in Brooklyn? Did you know that crack had come through like the angel of death?
No, I didn't know that until I came back. Because like, my mother was writing me letters, my brother, but I didn't know anything until I was enrolled in school. And then I ran into some of my friends that was out there, and that's when I found out about it, and they were hustling. And I'm like, damn, my man trying to pulled like 5 G's in front of me. It's like, yo, you don't want none of this? It's tempting.
So you missed the buildup because you were away servicing in the service.
Right.
That first day back in Brooklyn, give us a visual of how what did you see?
Well, the people I grew up with, majority of the people I grew up with, the neighborhood was no longer where white people were there anymore.
Okay.
It's mostly black people. Black people, hardworking black people. And I started to know that it was getting kind of violent with the gunplay.
Okay.
Like one day I'm looking at my window, I heard pop, 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 pop. See my boys. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm just testing it out. What is wrong with you? Boop, 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 boop. He takes off running. So there was a lot of gunplay going on in East New York. Okay. It wasn't unusual. You come home from work and you see a cop smoking a cigarette and there's a sheet over a dead body, waiting for the medical examiner to get there. That's how it became so dangerous. So all I was doing to the point was I was going to school, I was working, I was coming home, and I had my friends trying to tempt me to get me in that game. Matter of fact, I'm going to say his name, but his father worked for Transit.
Mm.
He ended up getting him a job with Transit.
Mm.
He was making so much drug money, he quit Transit. Can you believe that? And I'm like, man, you can retire and get a pension. No, man, you know what I'm saying? We're making this money, blah, 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 the third. He did it. So he got caught with some bodies in D.C. He ended up beating that, by the way. And the lawyer that represented him is now his wife. You can't make that up.
Mm.
And he's driving tractor trailers across the country right now. So but he had to go through that transition of getting into trouble, almost going away for life, getting a second opportunity. Now he's working a legal job. And when we had a reunion when I retired, you know what they all tell me? I was a sucker back then. I wish I would have did what you did. You retired young, man. You can do what I'm doing. You can do a second career. But I'm out there trying. My mother always told me, fast money ain't no good money. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I said, how many funerals we been to for people on that money? I said, it's so sad how many funerals I went to and see these young brothers dying. Like, they killed a guy I knew. They killed him and his girlfriend and stole the drug money out the house. I go on and on. They killed his brother, threw him under the Coney Island Bridge. I go on and on and on and on. But the sad part about it is, we as Black people, they tried to destroy us in all kind of ways. You know, the Tuskegee experiment, the heroin. My father was a heroin addict. I'm not gonna be ashamed to say he was. I remember as a kid, because my mother said he was sneaky. One day she's at work, and I see him doing a nod with the needle in his arm. So I got scared as a kid, and I'm like, yo, Daddy, you all right? And this is what I said. This is what he says to me. I never want to see you do that. Of course, being a kid, what do you say? So why do you do it? He hit me so hard, I flew across the room, hit the wall, and I blacked out for 5 minutes. I was unconscious. And all I heard when I came through, son, he was like, he was panicking. He thought he killed me. And I will never forget that. I'm like, I just questioned you why you're doing it, but yet you hit me for asking why you're doing it. And
struck a chord.
Yeah, it did. But my mother and him ended up breaking up because of that or whatever. And the sad part about it, I didn't see him until I was 14 when we went to see him in D.C. with my brother. And the next time I saw him when he's in the box. And the scary part was when I went to the funeral, he had a whole different family down in Georgia or whatever. And the scary part is when I walked into I'll never forget the look. When I walked into the church, people went like this. Because I looked just like him. They thought he got up and came out the coffin and came in the church. They were looking at me like this. I'm walking toward the casket like. And then when I got to the casket, it scared me because that was me, identical. And I was like, yo, this is scary, this is surreal. And I remember the woman he was with, she was giving me hints, you should stay, blah, 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 blah. You know, I said, listen, I'm on death leave with the police department. I have certain time to get back. Okay. And for some reason, they were jerking me with the death certificate. Because, see, she was trying to get his Social Security. But my mother was still legally married to him. They never divorced. So my job was pressuring me, well, we paid you DIF, and we don't see no death certificate. Did you make this up? Why would I make up the debt? Right? So finally, they were being sarcastic. When they sent me a death certificate, they sent me 8 of them. Right? I finally got it. And then my mother explained to me, I never divorced, blah, 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 and the third, and this and that, whatever. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm sorry what happened. Because she came down to the funeral, but she didn't go inside the church. And I said, Mom, she said, no, I'm not going in there, I'm not going to blah. I respect for the lady. I said, but Mom, you still married to her. Why can't you go? She didn't want to make a scene and drama. So that's why, driving back. And that was a month before my wedding. Can you believe that? When I found out he had passed. Then I ended up getting married. And it was good to begin, like most marriages are good to begin.
Well, you were on the force at the time.
Yes. And the only thing about my mother explained to my wife at the time is he has a unique job where there's a possibility he may not be coming home, if you know what I mean. Or if he's working, he'll work 2, 3, 4 days straight and may not see him. There's a lot of stress on him. That's why a lot of cops, believe it or not, they can't do drugs. So what do? They drink to suppress. And I did a lot of drinking. We, it's the thing with cops. We go, we hang out, we drinking, we in the bar, having a good time, this and that and the third. But it takes a toll on you. It takes a toll on your marriage. If you talk to anybody in law enforcement now, they're either legally divorced, in the process of a divorce, legally separated, or separated because of the job we do. And when I did homicide, I worked 3 4 days straight without being home. I come home, like the one with the I'm like, I'm here right now, I get a shower and go to sleep. And my wife would tell me, I thought you were dead when you sleep. And at the time I had sleep apnea on top of that. And that can kill you, you can die from that.
Absolutely, because you stop breathing as you're sleeping.
And that's what she said, you would stop for like 30 seconds. And then you go, I'm like, whatever. So I'm home in a deep sleep. She's shaking me for 10 minutes. I would come out of it. Then I'm like, what?
Right.
It's your job. Get the phone. We got a triple. A triple what? Triple homicide. All hands on deck. I'm going for 4 to 5 days again.
Right.
So I was never really home, but when I had my days off, I tried to. Broadway shows, romantic dinners. But then you have the element of the player haters, the females that see you got a good guy, and these are the ones that got 3 or 4 different baby mamas giving you advice on your marriage. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. And I told her, don't listen to your friends because they're envious of you where on the weekend, I say, here's $400, baby. Have a good time. I got the kids. Oh, don't worry about it. Only thing I ask you to do is when you get there, text when you're there and text when you're on your way. You're a good looking one. You're beautiful. I know dude's going to holler at you. I ain't worried about you. Just go to have a good time. That's what they hated because you had a provider that was doing the right thing. And I met them, their guys, and they spreading their seeds all over the place. But you had a guy that did right. And then you decided you wanted to go outside. I'm jumping back and forth. And I told her years ago, you're going to regret that. And sure enough, my son got married in July. Me and her went out to dinner. And before his wife came, she said to me how sorry she was. I regret it. Da, 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 da. And I see that my mother told me before she passed, and I didn't believe her, that you were going to say you're sorry. And I didn't believe her. She said, you don't sleep well at night. What you did to you. She said, you did everything right. I'm not saying you're perfect, because nobody's perfect. But you did everything you're supposed to do as a black man that women are looking for. And look what she did. And she said it. I regret it.
Your mother sounds like a woman of a lot of grace and knowledge.
Very spiritual. At the same, she was a member of St. Paul Christian Baptist Church. I don't know if you heard of Johnny Ray Youngblood. That run the congregation. She was part of his church for 38 years. 38. And I met him when I was trying to go to the counseling part. I was still trying to make the marriage work. And every time we would go, I would go to do it, she never show up. And this is a man that had a thing lined up, and he would skip people to make sure I'm in it because of my mother. He would say to me, your mother's so proud of you and your brother. Oh, you'll make her so proud, blah, blah. And I'm doing everything in the sun to make this work. I said to her, you going to come to the counseling? I'll be there. Third time, she didn't show up. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He says, Bob, and my kids were little. The twins were little then. He goes to me, I'm sorry to say this, but you tried. You get effort, but this person is not showing any effort. Because whoever this person is there with is whispering in their ear, telling her certain things. So I'm going to tell you something that you ain't going to like to hear. I said, what's that? And this is exact words. Leave that be alone. I was like, what? You know what I said? Leave that be alone. He said, she'll deserve you. She will see later on. I'm like, he said, no, I know what you think. You're thinking a financial thing where you got to make sure your kids are good. You're going to be all right. That, leave her alone. Let her go out there and see what the world is like. And then later on, she's going to realize the mistake that she made. Now, she was very close to my grandmother. My grandmother was very upset. She's old school from the South.
South
And,
Carolina.
yes. And my grandmother said to me, I may not be here to see it, but you're going to be all right. And you know how they talk. Those youngins you got, before you blink, they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, they're adults. So you're going to struggle. But I know you, I know your character. You're going to make sure those kids are well taken care of. And later on in life, they're going to turn around and thank you. And that's exactly what happened. They say, Daddy, we want thanks for the sacrifices you made and this and that and the third and blah, blah. And of course, the man she had in her life, he hated one of my sons because one of my sons looked identical to me.
So your father faced
Right.
times 3,
Right.
the next generation.
Right. So when he saw him, he saw me.
Mm-hmm.
He was more harder on that twin than the other one. And I said to him when I met him, if I find out you put hands on my kids, I'm going to jail. I told him, it's like that. I'm going to jail. You're not touching my kids. If I find out, I told him his face, if I find out, you done, son. Oh, is that a threat? No, that's a promise. Oh, you make a complaint? Go. I'll give you the number of CCRB. You make a complaint, I'll give you the number. I ain't scared of CCRB. I'm always down to CCRB. So guess what? You want the number, I'll give it to you.
And for our audience, tell us what CCRB is.
So CCRB is the Civilian Complaint Review Board, which means people make complaints against cops for abuse of authority or stuff like that. Now, there's people like myself that have been accused of stuff I didn't do. Because you're arresting a perp that knows the system. He knows how to make, like, example, we had a guy, I won't say his name. He was a domestic violence predator.
Okay.
He always beating. I don't know why these women are attracted to these guys, but they are. The daughter was so scared of him when he came around, she would urinate herself because she used to beat the mother, who was at the time a correctional officer. So I get the report. I go arrest him on a Sunday. He wanted to fight from the hood. I do what I had to do. Lock him up. He did the voodoo thing. I'll put the spell on you, man. The blood clot, all that. I said, whatever. I believe in Jesus Christ. I ain't worried about that. No worry about whatever. That's the first time. Then he did it again. But now with another woman who he impregnated. I went to go get him, locked him up. He wanted to fight, brought him in. A couple months later, the same one he impregnated, he made a. My thing is, why are you making reports when you don't want to pursue the matter? Well, with domestic violence, if you make a report, whether you want to pursue it or not, it's a must-arrest thing now. And we can't, back in the day, turn away. We could turn away, have you sign a form. God forbid he kills you, we're covered civilly. Because you made the report that you were nothing done. So this knucklehead had the nerve to come to the precinct and says to me, the blood clot, right? The judge said you cannot do nothing to me. I said, it's the act of water protection. I gotta lock you up. You're not gonna. It was WWE downstairs in front of the commanding officer's office. We were fighting. Wow. So now I lock him up. Take him upstairs. Now every squad has a cell that they keep the prisoners in.
Okay.
The detective squad. So I'm getting the paperwork together, and there was a white detective, Kathy Keenan. She passed away, may she rest in peace. Her desk was next to the cell. This dude went like this. Boy, spit on her. Sergeant opens the door. Me, Bobby Parker, officer going to the cell, and I tell the sergeant, you don't want to see what's about to happen. I said, you don't spit on nobody. That's a total thing of disrespect. So we did what we had to do. Now he's crying to go to the hospital. We take him to the hospital. He's crying about, oh, this and that. That's why it's all right for you to be a woman beater, but now it's your turn. You can't take it like a man. I said, don't put your hand on no woman. Do what you had to do. I said, number one, my mother was the victim of domestic violence. That's one thing I hate, as Judge Mathis would call it, is a woman beater. I said, if that's the case, I said, did what I did to my ex-wife. My thing was, I got mad, I walked out the house. I go for a walk. Or when I found out I had a credit card that she blew up on the guy she ended up marrying, $2,000, I punched a hole in the wall. And the famous words, oh, I'm going to pay you back. I never got paid back. But that's the game people play with you, not thinking that what you do in the universe comes back to you.
It's a circle, definitely.
That's a fact.
I want to go back to before the force.
Mhm.
As a kid, you're in Brooklyn, East New York,
Yes.
which is still a notorious community now.
Still go over there.
Still.
Yeah.
What were the messages? Because I remember when I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, the beat cops would walk. We would wave to them.
Right.
A class trip would actually be to the
Right.
fire department
Right.
and to the precinct, and the officers didn't seem scary. They seemed like familiar faces.
I'll give you an example.
And that was in the Bronx. So what
Yeah.
were the messages you received as a kid
Okay.
about the
We-
officers?
We had an officer, if you're into football, Larry Zonka. Remember him? He looked just like Larry Zonka for the Miami Dolphins. So we gave him the nickname Zonk.
Okay.
He always had the gloves on with the nightstick, not intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell us, all right, kids, you got to stay off the grass, whatever. Otherwise, we looked up to these guys. They were like, and they would tell our mothers back in the day we did something wrong.
Right.
Like one day we were sneaking, smoking cigarettes, young people, and Zonk came to the back of the projects and caught us. We ran. He goes, you can run, but I'm going to tell your mother.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew he was going to tell.
Right.
And he did. And my mother, I bet PTSD thinking about a big when she found out that we were smoking, and she was slick about it.
And this is a cigarette. This isn't a blunt. This is a cigarette. And I don't want the audience to miss it. You were in the P's, but I remember all the P's had grass.
Yes.
Trees.
Yes.
And there was actual signs that said,
keep off the grass.
Keep off the grass.
Right.
The families that are there now can't even probably visualize that unless they've been there 30 years plus.
Right.
So something like saying keep off the grass demonstrates the pride that was still prevalent in those communities. It wasn't about, oh, we live in the P's, so, let's toss all the trash on the grass.
Right.
We still, as a community, wanted that home base to look beautiful. And there was structure. And it sounds like Officer Zonk was a part of that community.
He was. He was walking, come hang out with us. Sit. It was weird to see a cop sit down. Like, you know, in your mindset, he would sit down and talk to us about stay out of trouble and this and that and the third, because you starting to see there was some people getting in trouble and doing things they wasn't supposed to be doing. And he said, I don't want you to be like those kids and this and that and the third and blah, 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 blah. And it got to the point where he was right. I was seeing people getting arrested. One of my childhood friends ended up trying to steal a chain, and the guy reacted. He killed him. He's still in jail to this day, and that was in the 70s when he killed this kid. So he was giving us a lot of advice, like, you don't want to go that way, and this and that and the third. And I said to him, not knowing it was going to happen, because I said to him, if I ever become a cop, I'm going to be like you, Zong. He said, he says a compliment. And when I was in the military, I come and say, I would never be a cop in New York. That's
Why?
Because at the time, the cops were getting killed left and right in the 80s, in the early 80s and 70s. And the fear of doing your job is getting killed, that's what's bothering me. So what happened? My mother, she goes, boy, when I got the mother, she goes, boy, you ain't laying up in this house. You ain't gonna lay and do nothing. You're either working, you're going to school, you're doing something. And matter of fact, you're going to do something with your life. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? She said, here are these city tests that are coming up, and I want you to take it. I took a test for court officer, corrections, clerk, everything, but they take time to call you.
Correct.
Right.
Even now,
right. So what I was doing, I was in school, I was doing my thing, and I worked at HPC as a clerk. That's why I love animals, believe it or not. I love animals. And I was waiting to be called. Now, this is the thing you're not going to believe, but I'm going to tell you. When I finally got called in early 86.
Wow, that's a very powerful year when you think about New York City.
Yeah. I had to go to Left Rack City. And the Left Rack City at the time is the medical division for NYPD. You had corrections, whatever. So I went to see my doctor. Thorough physical. Nothing's wrong with you. I go see their doctor. They said they didn't call your number. They found something medically wrong with you. They didn't call my number. I'm like, yo, what's going on? The black lady looked at the paper and looked like this. And I'm like, I don't like that look. Like she was pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you're medically overweight. I said, I'm only 215. This part really got heavy. I'm 215. I said, how much do you want me to weigh? They wanted me to weigh 174 pounds.
So they wanted you to be ready for the runway.
They want me to be Karen Carpenter. They want me to be Karen Carpenter, anorexic, right? I'm like, yo, there's no way. Well, you got to do it. So what I did, I went before I left. A black detective pulled me to the side. Looks around and goes, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not supposed to tell you, but if you ever say anything, I'm gonna deny telling you. I said, what's that? They got their quota of blacks, Hispanics, and the rest. The contracts, they got them in there. He said, do me a favor, don't give up. Try to lose as much weight as you can, which I did. So I got to the point where my neck was like an ostrich. I got so skinny. They would see my brother and they say, yo, how long your brother been on the pipe? They thought I was smoking crack.
Do you remember that time when you couldn't lose weight because of the Pulpit? They automatically
They thought I was on the pipe.
it was on crack.
Because I was running 10 miles a day, either 5 miles in the morning and 5 miles when I got for work, or if I couldn't do it, I'd run 10 miles at night. I was eating to the point, my mother political again, making phone calls, doing things with Ben Ward at the time, and my friend Skip, who I met at my job, his brother was a police captain. And I went to his house in Staten Island. He said, you're the people he said, you're the kind of guy we want for this job. Why? So my investigator called me up pissed off because the captain reached out to him. I'm like, well, if you do what you're supposed to do, the captain have to call you. So I knew that was the revenge trying to hold me from getting in there. So now I go for, they call medical review, and they say, what did they say? Something about my weight. And I said, well, wait a minute. You say you want me 174 pounds. I caught them out there. They didn't know what to say. They're like, oh, okay, we'll be right back. They go in the office. 10 minutes later, oh, congratulations. Welcome to the New York City Police Department. Oh, I wonder what happened, right? So now, I knew I was told by black officers, they say, yo, listen, there's us, and then, no disrespect, they got the Good Old Boys Network. They network. They're going to look out for each other. That's just the way it is. He said, you just go in there and you do your job. So I remember being sworn in. That was a proud day. And you're going through the academy, 6 months at the academy, you're doing certain things. And the greatest thing was, thank God my grandmother was alive when she saw me graduate at Madison Square Garden. I remember her saying, y'all look like March of the Wooden Soldiers when y'all did the salute. And like, all the white girls go, vroom, like that. She was like, my grandmother went crazy. And I said, Grandma, I'm just glad for you to eat. I'm glad that you're here to see that. That was beautiful, because she passed away in 2002. I said, I'm glad you're here to see that. And then my mother and my stepfather were having, what was going on? He was trying to ruin the moment. And my mother looked at him. She said, let me tell you something, you mother. This is my son's day. You're not going to ruin it. I'm taking him out to dinner whether you want to go or not. Could you believe, out of spite, he wouldn't take me out to dinner? So my mother had to do it? Because he was jealous that you carry a gun, you got authority. And I didn't abuse my authority. I was always saying, people, it's a job. It's nothing personal. But in the academy, they tell you, you have the power of life and death, which means if Congress wants to go to war, don't they have to vote on it? They have to go to act to Congress.
Correct.
You're in a situation where it's a life-threatening situation. You make the decision right there whether you're going to do or don't. That's what they tell you. You have the power over life and death. And I've had situations where people had guns, and I say, yeah, well, man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. Drop it. And cops said I was crazy. Like, he could have killed. I said, no. And they drop it. And I talk to them and say, listen, if it was any of the other dudes, you'd be dead.
Right.
You'd be dead. But I'm not that John Wayne type of guy. But I'd rather, you got hopefully a mother, father, brother, sisters, nephews. I want you to live to see them.
Not just this moment this because a lot of times when civilians are in those situations, many times they put themselves in their
Yes.
situations by their responses.
Yes.
And that hypersensitivity
Right.
and rejection
Right.
to law enforcement.
Right.
What I hear you saying is there is a pause.
Right. There is.
Because you recognize this moment
Mm-hmm.
is going to, depending on the reaction, because
Right.
I am the one with the power
Right.
and the authority,
Right.
will change both of our paths.
Lives. That's right.
And I think that is one of the things that the civilian community, particularly our community, we don't have the avenue to even think that's a thought.
Mm-hmm.
There has been, when you talked about Officer Zonk, our kids are not seeing Officer Zonks.
No, not.
And with social media feeding, and I don't want to say it's only feeding, but the worst images are being put up. We're not seeing glimpses into the activity of the PAL, rather, excuse me. We're not seeing our younger recruits and those conversations they're having. Because the Good Old Boys Club, I'm sure, is still very much in place.
It's in place.
It's
Yeah.
in all our institutions.
Right. Right.
But the one we have the most contact with is law enforcement. And those conversations behind the scenes we're not aware of.
Right.
Do you, when you first started, because you started on the beat,
Mm-hmm.
like most officers, did you receive the reception Uncle Mr. Zonk did, Officer Zonk did? Did you see that?
In the beginning, no. But then remember, I was a transit cop. I was in the street.
Oh, yes.
I was in the street. I lived the street, even though I didn't stay in the hole.
So you were in the transit.
Right, but
Okay.
I always I was out of the hole all the time. And I got to know, and I worked in Harlem, so I got to know people on 125th Street, 148, 145, 116. I got to know a lot of people. And they were drinking a 40. Now, back in the day, you know how it was. That bag of 40.
Yes.
I would tell them, listen. My boss going to come and tell me to write you a summons. I don't want to do that. So, just get out. Just wait till I leave and do it. Mm-hmm. So, that little thing I did ended up people liking me.
Okay.
In a sense where things happen, they would tell me. They say, yo, that kid that got clapped the other night, so-and-so was involved with that. Word? Mm-hmm. I said, okay, but I'm not getting you involved because I don't want you to be whatever. But I will do for you is give you the number, which a lot of people don't believe, but it's true, is 187 tips with the police department, which means you have to leave your name. They'll say, well, how do you know about this? What's your name? I don't want to leave my name. Okay, we'll give you a code number, 777. Mm-hmm. So when you call back, you're 777. And if it pans out, we'll let you know, and you're entitled to a reward. So it pans out, they'll say, oh, this is 777. Okay, we got to wait till he's indicted in the grand jury. When he's indicted in the grand jury, you're entitled to your $1,500. You call up a couple weeks later, he was indicted. Okay, they send you to a place outside your neighborhood, a participating bank that deals with the police department. You walk in, this is what you say to the teller, I'm 777. Have a good day. I call a lot of people like that tell me things and they saw, but they didn't want to get involved and they got paid through the grapevine. Because my main thing is these people have families.
Right.
Like one that bothers me was I had a partner, my female partner, she ended up being a lieutenant. She wanted to come to the squad, right? And I said, you don't want to come here. I said, like my man said in the movie Seven, why here? Why you want to come here? This place is crazy, right? She said, I want to learn to be a detective. So she came and she's married. And she was, after a while, she came in her high heels, her hair done. 2 weeks later, she looked like a washwoman because she was never home, right? She's like, I want to go home. I'm telling her, but you want to come here. I want to see her husband. I went to the academy with Eddie. She said, I said, no. You want to come here, right? And she couldn't believe how busy it was with the shots fired. This and stuff, and we was always running out. Now, we were the typical detective squad we weren't on that high horse of like, we don't do that with patrol. No, we were part. You call for help, we were at the office like everybody else. We're there, do what we got to do. When I was a detective, I didn't say, don't call me that, call me Rob. The only difference between me and you is my shield is gold, your shield is silver. And that's how I'm going to break it down to you. We're at a crime scene. Here comes the two-star. What's going on, officer? Well, I just know somebody. But the detectives, because we supposed to know about certain things, or we got to do a little tap dance to please them. Because if you know it's on the news, you always see them on the phone or the crime, man. Because they call the people up the chain, let them know what's going on. Because they have to know now. So they call the commissioner, the deputy commissioner. Like, I don't know if you heard of Chief Madry.
Yes.
That's a friend of mine. We worked together. He was a lieutenant. I still keep in contact with him. And when I talked to him, he had said to me, "There's a lot of stuff I got to go through. I can't even talk to you about. I know what it is." He says, I can't screw up one time. He said, I'm just riding the time, and I'm gonna get out of here and do what I got to do. But one case that bothers me, and I don't mean to upset you, but to tell you, but there was a girl that was 16 years old that was pregnant. Her sister had 5 kids before the age of 21. Okay? Her father told her, I don't want you to end up like your sister. She gets pregnant. She wore the baggy clothes that they do. They hide it.
To conceal it.
Right. Now, what do babies do when they come in this world? They cry, right?
Yes.
Okay. So she had the baby in the bathroom. Her father was in the living room reading a book. Now, babies cry. What does she do? And I'm not making this up. She puts the panties in the baby's mouth to shut the baby up. That's not good enough. Takes the baby like a sledgehammer, takes it by the feet, swings it over her head, cracks the baby's skull on the sink. Oh, it's not over yet. Post-mortem, she stabs the baby 15 times in the chest and throws out a 6-story window. I will never forget that. And the person that caught the case, she just had a miscarriage 3 weeks prior. And that was her first case. So you can imagine the emotional...
How do you separate the job from
that.
the human piece of experiencing the loss of a child?
That's there's nothing more tragic you being a parent than the loss of a child. It's like
not
the
prepared.
way it goes is like your parents had you.
Yes.
You do what you got to do. God calls them home. You put them away.
You're prepared for that.
Right. You're not prepared for that.
The reverse, correct.
Right. So like my mother always told me, thank God you guys did what you're supposed to do, because a lot of their friends ain't here. They went there in their hustle and did what they had to do. And I remember when I was at that lady's, that house, the girl was holding her niece. And the way she was looking, no, we didn't know that we didn't know where the baby came from.
Right.
And we didn't know.
So the baby was found.
Right, they found it and they rushed to the hospital.
Correct.
And
the
we're trying to
baby
figure
was
out.
rushed to the hospital? The baby
because
survived?
No, died, but we can't pronounce it. We
Okay.
can't pronounce it professionally. And they even tried to bring it back, even though I knew there was no chance. And I remember talking to the girl, and she kept looking at me like this. I said, something ain't right. Something ain't right. So I said, you know anybody recently was pregnant and had a baby? And she's like, no. And the vibe I got was, and I wish I would have listened, go to the bathroom. But then I got distracted. A partner said something, and I'm talking to the father, who was, you could tell, was a hardworking man, had calluses on his hands. He's reading the book, The Art of War, which you probably heard of.
Yes.
And we're talking about it. So I walk out the house, the apartment, and I'm standing there. And my partner's going, what's the matter? I said, I got this vibe, man.
Your senses were going off.
Right. Because now when they saw the blood on the windowsill from another apartment building, that's where they knew where it came from. Now, this is the part I hate about our black people when it comes to certain things. Now, we got this girl in the hospital, in custody, and you got black folks who don't know what's going on. Don't tell them nothing. And they're like...
Where do you think that comes from?
Probably the animosity they dealt with bad police. Because I dealt with bad police off duty. Because see, I had to tell them I had extradition with a booming system. Everybody, Everybody knew me. When I come to the hood, they go rob. Boom, 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 boom. Even when I pulled them in front of the precinct, the windows will rattle. They said, he's here. He's here. He said, blah, 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 blah. And I'm playing Biggie Small. I live for the phone. I die for the phone. I live for the phone. That was my jam. That was like my motivation jam to get into work, right? Machine Gun Funk. So I'll be driving late at night. That's okay. Let me cut it down. Oh, the look. You probably don't understand the look, but when you pass the police, it's that look they give you. I said, about to get pulled over. I see them creep out. I go, okay. They gonna pull me. So they follow me. Otherwise, they doing their check. They run the license plate. Oh, you the 16 on the roll, which means information. They find your license legit, your insurance is legit. I said, okay. They're trying to find some reason to pull me over. They have no reason now. They're gonna make up something. Sure enough, they light it up. I said, okay, they're pulled over. And this is what I do. I tell my son to do the same thing. I put the interior light on. I take the keys to the ignition. I put on the dashboard. And I'm the police. And I put my hands like that. They come into the car. They're shocked. They're like, how you doing? How you doing tonight, guy? I said, I don't know. You guys are pulling me over. What you put me over for? They go, what you mean what we put? Now they got an attitude.
Right.
I'm like, no, they don't know who I am. I'm like, what's up with the attitude? Who are you to tell me? I was like, man, I miss going home, minding my business, had a long day. What's up with the attitude? Who you think you're talking to? I'm like in shock, like, oh, this dude is fishing to get me, right? So I'm watching his demeanor, but his partner was quiet, right? So I said, yo, man, let me just, tell me what I got pulled over for. You know what? I don't like your attitude. Excuse me? I don't like your attitude, right? So he says, get out the car. But see, I had my shield in my hand with the numbers covered. So detective shields have the shield with your shield number. But when you cover it, it looks like a lieutenant shield.
Okay.
Right? So when I opened the car door and he saw that shield, he thinking I'm a supervisor. He jumps back. Now he's scared. Like, oh, I fucked with the wrong one. I said, what's good, man? What's good? Humming. I said, don't do Ralph Cramden now. Why'd you pull me over? Oh, well, you know, I said, don't run the game that I fit a description because I'll have you get on the radio and check the call back. I know the game because I'm in the game.
Right.
So don't bullshit me.
I'm a major player.
Right. I said, don't bullshit. Excuse my friend. Don't BS me. Right? So I'll tell you what. I want the supervisor here right now. Don't run. I know your shield number. I know the car number. So if you run, I'll go to the precinct and see you. See, I'm not the civilian you can do that to. Run to get away. I do what you do. So they call for supervisor. Can't make this up. Guess who shows up? A friend of mine from the academy. Sergeant. He sees me. He goes like this. What's going on? Let me holler at you. I told him what it was. He says, come here. Why? He had no reason why. And I said, I'll tell you why. It's called race. Like people don't believe, white folks don't believe it. It's called racial profiling. I was being profiled because I'm driving a nice truck. Or who are you to have a truck like that? I said, in the system. I said, how come? I said to the guy, how come when it comes to us, no disrespect, we work hard. Yes, I work hard, the American dream. And wherever we get, there's always a cloud over our head. Like, how did he get it? Did he sell drugs? How come when y'all get it, there's no questions asked?
Right.
Why is that? And he gets quiet. And my friend says, this is the guy, you get shot, he's coming to give you blood. This is the guy, God forbid, you got a medical catastrophe with your kids. He's donating and helping. And this is the guy that you're going to pull over? He didn't know what to say. And this is what I said to him. I said, okay, Daddy, I don't mean to be funny. Where are you from? I already know he's going to say it in Long Island. Oh, but do y'all do that to your people out there? Oh, wait.
Most likely not.
He couldn't say nothing.
As a civilian, when you are faced with that stop, whether you're on Eastern Parkway, Jerome Avenue, Queens Boulevard, what are your rights as a civilian? And how do you survive the encounter?
Well, it depends on what they stop you for and what you did.
Do you have the right to ask?
Yes, but some of them probably But they'll tell you like you ran a light or you ran a stop sign, and in your heart and mind, if you know you did it, you did it. It's
Right.
like you can't argue something that you did. If you ran a light and they caught you, you can't argue that.
Speeding
You're
too.
stop speeding, you can't argue that. Stop sign. But if they're just pulling you over for no random reason, that's what I don't like. Like if you're swerving, they think you're drunk, they pull you over. Something like that. But don't pull me over because I'm driving a nice car. Because in the hood, when you're walking the beat, you know who's who.
Right.
Like you see this dude, all of a sudden he's driving a 500 SEL. Wait. This guy don't work. What's going on? He out there doing his thing. You just sit back and watch. Because remember, you're out there every day walking around.
And watching.
And I always tell people, I'm at Ringling Barney Bailey Circus, and I got ringside seats. I see everything that's going on. And most of the people eventually, like a guy in Red Hook, he was smart, but he got sloppy. He would sit up there every day, no hood, smoke a cigarette, drink a beer. He's one of the biggest drug dealers in Red Hook, but you would never know because he wasn't flashy with it. That's what brought him down. The thing that brings all men down.
Major purchases and women?
Woman. That's it. A woman.
Sometimes women are the major purchase as well.
The downfall of man. If you know, Samson is a liar. It's in the Bible, right? He met this girl, and I can lie, she was absolutely, as they say in the hood, a dime piece. He was something. And you see, be like, damn, look at that right there, you know? But she manipulated him saying, well, you should buy better clothes. You should do this.
Show the wealth.
Right. You should buy a better car. She did all that. Now, she's making her feel good, whatever. She did a run with a key and got caught. Because they were watching. They couldn't figure out whatever. Remember, you my woman. Guess what they did? They flipped her, put her back out there with him. He's doing life now. Because of that what? That woman. So I always tell people, I'm not a chauvinist or anything, but the downfall for some men are women. And I've seen guys kill over that.
Well, we know that wars have been started over
wars have
women.
been started. But and I used to always tell guys when I got a guy that killed this other guy that's messing with his girlfriend, and my partner would get mad when I asked this question, but it's never been answered. I said, let me ask you a question. When you engaged in a sexual nature with your woman, and you hit to that part where, you know, you do your thing, did you see the Star Spangled Banner and fireworks? Did you see that? Because I see that. Nobody get next to that woman. Nobody. But if you did that and you killed, you have a reputation. They go, what do you mean? You going away for 25 years, my man. Problem. You think she can put in a chastity belt for you for 25 years? I think so.
She's gone.
You'll see another dude. So here you are up north. You're making these phone calls. After a while, the phone calls don't go through. You know why? Because she have to protect the phone calls. You going crazy and maximum. What you going to do, break out? Meanwhile, dude's in the hood or she's in the club going, hey, right? And you know what dudes say? Yo, son, I ain't messing with that. Dude killed over that. That's some powerful stuff. You gave a reputation. That's all you did. That right there, don't mess with that. So I tell every man, including, I've been through it, it's not worth killing over a woman to take your freedom away and she's still down here doing her thing. It's not worth it.
Choose wisely.
Right. I said, when I caught my old lady doing what she did, I could have, like her own grandmother, Christian woman, may she rest in peace, love her to death. She told her, you better be glad you ain't wearing a toe tag. Her religious grandmother that played the organ in church told her that. You better be glad you're not wearing a toe tag because other men for what you would have did, they would have killed you. See? And remember, I carry a gun. I'm a shield. I could have snapped and said, I'm going to Saturday, boom, 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 boom. But then you got to think of the bigger thing to yourself. What about your kids? You got to put your kids before you put yourself, your feelings, your emotions, and everything like that. So that's what I thought about. How would I feel that they're growing up without a mother and a father?
Right.
So the father going to jail, mother gone. Who can raise them?
And that's very important.
Yes.
Back to surviving the encounter, because I think your words are going to be really important and save a lot of lives. You're on the boulevard, you get stopped. You didn't run the stop sign. Local speed limit is always 25.
Right.
No matter what your engine can do,
Right.
it's 25.
I got tickets over there.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
How do you survive that encounter?
Okay, what you got to do is basically, this I always tell people, I tell my sons the same thing. You got to be very respectful. If you're coming with an attitude, cops don't like attitudes. Like, you see it. Now you're already starting off bad. You'll say to the officer, how you doing, officer? You guys are good, what's going on? And they'll have to explain to you why they stopped you. What you say to them is, officer, I know you got a rough job. It's a dangerous job. I pray for you guys all the time to be safe. So whatever you got to do, officer, I'm going to respect that. Makes them think. Wait a minute. Even if you did run a stop sign, whatever, the way you come at them, they'll say to you, well, you know what? I'm going to give you a warning this time. But just be careful because the way you came out at them. My sons, when they get stopped, they talk that police jargon. Like they'll say, oh, my father's on the job. And they look at him like, he was a detective in the 6-7 squad. That's police jargon talk.
Okay.
Right? Because normal civilians don't talk like that.
Okay.
He's in 6-7 squad, he was a detective, blah, blah. And he retired, and they hear that, and they go, oh, how long have you been retired for? How did you join retirement? Okay, you know what? This is a warning, man. Tell your father to join retirement and be safe. So it's going to be on you with your attitude. Now, some of you got the nicest attitude, and they still write you.
Right.
Because there may be that, as they say, there's no such thing as a quota. Wink, wink. There's no such thing as a quota. So they have to get their numbers, do what they got to do. That's it. But the problem is, I've done car stops where this lady almost hit our car running the stop sign. I was going to give her a break. The blood-clad rod, the Babylon that she's going on. Oh, hell no. I said, you ran the stop sign, and you got the nerve, and you almost hit that much, almost hitting our car. I said, you got the nerve to come at me like that? License registration. I said, we can turn this, we can elevate it from a simple 1096, which is a ticket, where I bring you into the precinct. It's up to you. I said, like people say, I'm on my job, right? She's cursing me out, la, 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 whatever. Of course, you got Josephine, I always want to be nosy. Officer, give her a break, because she's a pretty lady. Yeah, I said, my man, no disrespect. How come when there's a murder, and I'm looking for witnesses, how come I can't find a guy like you? They sit there and think about it. How come nobody wants to talk to me when there's a murder? But you see this, thinking you're going to get with that, now you want to talk to me. Have a good day. I wrote her. She tried to fight the summons like months later. I go to court, traffic court, and when I tell the judge what happened, by her attitude, he knew. He says, now I see why you got the ticket. You have a very nasty attitude. What do you mean? What the guan mean? Talking about? Officer, excuse. So she basically talked her way into proving that she was guilty. And my thing is, I don't want to grab nobody for something they didn't do. Now, I don't know if you heard about a case a couple of years ago. It was Christmas Eve of 2004. There was a drive-by in Flatbush where 2 people were shot. Christmas Eve. And I ended up taking it because my friend, my partner, he had family coming in to New York. My kids were in Florida. So I said, okay, I'll catch it. What's probably on murder? So now I get involved. We get the kid that was shot in the shoulder. What a nasty kid. He was so nasty and disrespectful to the point that I tell him, let me tell you something, man. I'm going to give you a taste of reality. When you get home, when you get out of there, where you going? You have Christmas dinner, right? What is that family doing? Preparing for funeral arrangements on Christmas Day. Think about that. Their Christmas will never be the same again because they lost their son on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. You open a Christmas gift. What are they doing? And you got the nerve to come at me and I'm trying to help you solve your friend's murder? That changes your attitude. So he gave me hints. We ended up finding out who the players were or whatever. Now, all my murder cases, I'm hands-on, which means I'm involved with everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one case that I got screwed because it's about saving the city money.
Mm.
And I was working like almost 7, 8 days straight. And my sergeant says to me, oh, well, I don't want you coming in on your day off. We're going to have the guy from homicide working straight time. Now, a lot of people don't realize when a detective and a squad, like any precinct catches a murder, you have homicide work with you. So you're not doing it by yourself. And you have 8, 9, 10 people working your case at one time, sometimes 15. So it's not just you. It's a whole team of people working with you.
Are certain cases given priority?
It depends.
What gives a case priority? Is
It's
it only media coverage?
Especially media, like they call it a Red Bull. Like political, like anything you notice now with, I'm not being disrespectful, with the Jewish community, anything's always on the news.
Okay.
They wrote swastikas on the news, and they do their thing. Now, that may do because it was Christmas Eve, right? So they got information and who these people were that did that. I'm home. I get a phone call that night. No, the next day. Oh, we got the guy. I'm like, okay, so who is it? Oh, it's the guy, but it wasn't the guy in the photo array. So I go, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Because when you see the photo array of the perp and the actual of the person and the perp, like twins. Can't make that up. So I said, well, what are they going to do? The district attorney said, the right guy we got, we're going to run a lineup.
Okay.
If we get a lineup and we get a hit, we're going to run with it. So in other words, I didn't make any decisions without authorization of the district attorney. Okay. So I get there, and I don't know if you've ever been in watch people look at lineups. The body language tells you everything. You tell the guy, you can pick numbers 1 through 6, your choice. What number you want to pick? He picks 6. They walk in, and you can tell by the body language, they see him. They jump back. And I said, do you see a number you recognize? Number 6. Where do you recognize that person from? That was the person that was shooting at the car, blah, 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 blah. They signed the photo. They signed a statement. Boom. Next. And remember, the witnesses are kept separate. They can't talk to each other. They can't say, oh, it was number 6. No, we keep them separate. Bring that person in there. We give an opportunity to change the number. He changed number 3. They walk in, number 3. So you got 2 separate people looking at 2 separate lineups telling you that's the person that they saw do it. That's like ironclad. I tell the district attorney what we got going on, no problem. Processing the paperwork. Now this is the dilemma. Everything you do on a homicide is documented. They call it pinks or DD5s. So what is your last name again? Your last name? Oh, okay, no way. I say.
No, but this is what you would say.
Right, I say, Mrs. Quackermeyer, I went to go see her, but she wasn't home. So what you do is, when you go to the person's house, they're not there, you leave a business card.
Okay.
When you come back, you type in the DD5 on such a day, such a time, the undersigned, which is myself, went to 1313 Mockingbird Lane to talk to blah, 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 with negative results. I left a business card for the person to contact me. You document everything, okay? In other words, I can't type something I didn't do.
Right.
That detective did the photo array. I can't type that. He got to explain why is that photo in there that shouldn't be in there. And I kept on telling him, listen to me. You know, homicide's taken almost 2 years to go to trial. I don't want to be testifying that this is the guy, and it's not. Because you have short memory come to that. Make sure you do a DD5 on that. Because if it was me, I would have did DD5. But I didn't do it. You did it.
So the DD5 is literally the step-by-step.
Right. Everything you do.
Every move you made.
Every move you made.
Every visit.
Every call. When you go to the autopsy, you do a DD5 on that. When you find ballistics, you do a DD5. Everything you do, even if you write on a scrap paper, they call it Rosario.
Okay.
That be admitted in a trial or whatever. So now, 2 years later, they do the Wade hearing in the hunt. What can be suppressed, what can be whatever. So it was actually 3 people involved with the murder. The defense lawyer, I knocked 2 of them out the box. The third guy was working like a peacock, like he had something. I'm like, something ain't right.
Defense attorney.
Right, something ain't right. So he goes to me, how long you been a detective? How long you been doing homicide? Never had a problem.
Mm.
He goes to me, so when did you realize that the person that's in this courtroom is not the person in the photo array? Now my heart jumps to my throat, and I'm going, that mother so-and-so screwed me. He was supposed to do the DD5 explaining what it was and why, and I forgot. So it looks like I'm committing perjury when I'm not. I believe that was the person in the photo. So the court stops, the judge goes, okay, we're gonna stop this procedure. We're gonna do what we gotta do, and that's it. Now I go back to the command, it gets back, I had to see the chief and everybody. Now technically, it's a thing called, I don't know if you heard of modified duty.
Yes.
You ever heard of that? Well, they couldn't modify me. So they did think under a domestic violence clause called IO 90. In other words, they wouldn't take my gun and shield. They had to find a way to take it. And that's how they went about doing it. And they said, we're going to hold this in pending outcome of the investigation in the trial. I'm like, Chief, you know I get down. I don't get down like that. Then they ordered me to go see a psychologist. I said, what? Oh, they thought you was going to kill yourself over this case. I said, you're kidding me, right? You're kidding me. I said, number one, I don't believe in suicide. That's number one. Number two, why would they put all this trouble to see a psychologist when that basically it's the trial or something? And the psychologist, do you want to kill yourself? I said, no, I don't want to do that. What are you talking about?
Right.
Now they set it up where I was supposed to see a psychologist and I was supposed to get my gun and shield after that. They purposely set a time where by the time it was over, they were out of the office. So I couldn't get it until I go to trial Monday. I get a phone call, 4:30 in the morning. My man, he's a character. He says, you're the flavor of the city. I said, what are you talking about? Yo, they got you on page 2. Full body shot. You got the phone in your hand in your money suit. You got the cigarette in your mouth. And it says, they try to make me look bad. DUH, detective, may blow murder case. I'm like, yo.
What was that moment like?
My mother saw it, she started to panic, and she says, I'm calling the prayer warriors in because I know you're innocent, and blah, 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 and do what they got to do. Because you got to remember, I got promoted because of that case. So you had a lot of haters that probably made phone calls for that to happen. So I said, Mom, be all right. I had to get a DA lawyer, not a delegate, a lawyer. So I tell the lawyer at the courtroom what happened. He goes, you didn't do anything wrong. He says, it's Martin's the one that's got it. Now, the guy that screwed the case, he's retired. And this is what he tells me.
So he retired before the trial?
Right, way before the trial.
Okay.
So he tells me, oh, I want to make sure you get your pension because I got mine. So I said, didn't I tell you that day to do something with that DD5 and you didn't? I can't type something I didn't do. You did it. And because of that, my name's in the paper. Did I mention your name?
Your picture's in the paper.
My picture's in the paper. Some people will never, because people saw it, they will never forget it. I said, I'll be forever remembered by that picture. What about you? You the one that did the photo array. What's good? Oh, I'm so sorry. They can make me look like a buffoon on the stand and this and that and the third. Blah, blah, blah. That's all right. But the point of the stand is, I still got to go testify in regards to whatever, because they're going to, the defense lawyer think he's going to have my goose cooked. But I got a surprise for him. So I go in there, I testify, and the judge catches, oh, I understand now what's going on. You can see him look like this, like in shock. So I explain everything, and he goes, so last time you saw my client? I saw such a day when I was arrested for murder too. And I realized there was 3 guys in the audience. Courtroom was packed. The media was there. Everybody, Channel 2, 4, 7, the whole media was there. So I see these 3 guys get up. It's like distinctive. I'm like, something's up with those guys. Because when they were looking at me, they get up and walk out the courtroom. Joey Calabrese, man, he rest in peace. I don't know if you heard about a detective that killed himself on the Belt Parkway a couple of years ago. That was him. He trained me. He was a big wig in the DEA also. So he goes outside to meet with them. I found out later on that it was a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a captain. And they told him, listen, we had to come because this was in the paper. You let that detective know we apologize for all the pressure he was under. He was very credible on the stand. We believe him. So we're going to kind of wrap this up on our end. I didn't notice at the time. So I'm leading to the court, the female court officer, like, yo, they ain't getting me. He said, who? Internal Affairs. They're going to get me. They got to earn it. I'm going to run like I'm the fugitive. Like whenever Harrison Ford, you got to catch me. So I said, where are the escape routes out here? She started laughing. You're funny. I said, no, they got to earn it. They ain't getting me for something I didn't do. So I get up, and it's like that thing with P. Diddy. We said, dead man walking. I'm walking through the courtroom, and I'm almost to the door. They grabbed me. No, you ain't going out there. When they cracked the door, all I saw was lights. That was the media.
The media.
Right. So they took me back through the judge chambers, through a secret elevator, and ended up back in the Marriott. I'm like, wow, what's up? So it felt good that I got cleared of everything.
Absolutely.
But then I had to go to retrieve my gun and shield because they took it. So I had to go to 72 Precinct in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And I never forget when I walked in, there was this black assistant desk officer, they call him, the assistant sergeant. And he goes, you Reedy, right? I go, yeah. I got to talk to him. Don't know this guy from a can of paint. Next thing he knows, let's go to the side. He said, my man, if for some reason, like, you're coming to a precinct, suppose your name is Donna, and we heard about this girl Donna coming. We made phone calls on you to find what kind of person you are, whatever. So apparently he got some phone calls on me. Remember, this guy I don't know from a can of paint. And he says to me, yo, my man, I heard you a great investigator. I heard you a team player. I heard that your stuff don't stink, which means you don't take it personal or because you got a gold shield. You treat everybody. He's went on and on and on. And I said, yeah, man, it's a job. It's not personal or whatever. He said, but think about this. Supposing we're sideways, you would have lost your pension. And I thought about that. Right. And I had my 20. I had my time to retire. And he said, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to do 25. I said, I love what I do. I love helping people, but it's getting to a point, they don't want guys like me in this job anymore. They don't want the guys that actually try to do the right thing by people, whatever. They want a yes man, and I ain't that dude. He said, well, listen, once you retire and secure a pension, you can go rob a bank and get caught. Guess what keeps them coming every month?
That pension.
The pension. It doesn't stop until God calls you home. He said, think about that. You got your medical benefits, and I'm thinking, he got me thinking. I'm like, damn. So they call that in NYPD, you're on the fence, which means either you're going to jump on that side and retire, or you're going to climb back. I was on the fence for a minute. And every day I was coming to work, it was getting harder and harder and harder. And with that case, there's an old saying, once bitten, twice shy. Everything I was doing compared to before, I was like so careful. Which I was always careful before, but now I'm over compensating.
Because that's the trauma from the experience. It could have all been taken by something that you had foreseen during the investigative stage, and you warned that other officer. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's.
He did, and it came back to bite me.
And it came back to bite you.
And that's the sad part, because some people, no matter what you say you do, some people are going to believe you did it.
Yeah.
And some people are going to believe that you don't. Now, people that know me know. They said, no. There's people that were like, with other squads are saying, oh, he effed up. Blah, blah, blah. And the detective will say, no, I know this guy. He ain't like that. He does everything he's supposed to do. He said, it was that guy from homicide that screwed that up. It's just that he didn't do anything with the DD5 because he didn't do it. He didn't show the photo array, right? So I always tell people, how come, when they review, let me go over this part. This is important. I ended up working for the Eagle team. You know what the Eagle team is?
No.
Okay, the Eagle team, the MTA, is people that do the select bus service.
Okay.
Right, they write suburbs on the 44,
yes.
whatever. Okay, I started doing that in 2013. I got in 2013. 85% of the people that do that are retired law enforcement, right? Now, you go out there and we get on the bus and we announce ourselves, tickets please. Proof of payment. Now, people try to be slick. hold a ticket from last week, thinking we don't read it. Right?
Or the ticket on the floor.
There you go. But then you know what we do sometimes? We can get the MetroCard and it'll match that ticket to your MetroCard.
Okay.
See, so I've had those tricks. I know all the tricks, right? So they say, oh, I go, no, something right. Something right. You know, I catch them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people that curse you out, F you, and they would go off, whatever.
Is that a New Yorker attitude?
Yeah.
Where, you know, I know I'm wrong.
Right.
But so what? Look the other way. I got places to go.
Okay, now I'm explaining to you. That's a good scenario. But you got to think. Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better.
Correct.
You know when you're going to bus, you can purchase a ticket. But what do?
Correct.
You get on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now you get caught. There's an attitude. No.
Correct.
You're the adult in the room. You're supposed to know
Mm-hmm.
better. Right? Don't get mad at me because this is what they paid me to do.
Correct.
All right? Now.
And you're aware
right.
that this is something that's imminently can happen. It may not happen at Fordham.
Right.
But you're going to encounter the evils.
We have people that run on us or whatever. And I had one guy, he's a Jamaican guy. We was doing plain clothes it was in the 4th precinct. And it was on the BX-19.
Okay.
And he says, "Me the blood, I'm not going to pay that. I mean, I still going to pay the Bobby line." I said, "Oh, man." I even gave him a break. I said, "Just pay your fare."
Right.
I said to him, "Just pay your fare. We're going to go about our business. Me not going to do nothing. We're not a thief." I said, "Listen, I'm practically begging him to do the right thing. Pay your fare." Now, that was the guy I worked with. I can say his name, but he is like a Terminator.
Mm.
He has that strength. And he's a millionaire.
Mm.
But I tell him to this day, "Why are you still here?" So he swings at him.
Mm.
Now
that's escalated quickly.
Now you remember that those horror movies like Michael Myers with the blank stare? That's him.
Yes.
So he swings at him. He was like this. I said, "My man, please don't do that again. Please. This dude is crazy. Me not scared. Me not fear him." I said, "Listen, don't do that again." Well, you heard people go, "Oh my God." He picked him up like the reanimator, picked him up with his head, slammed him. We got him down. We handcuffing him, whatever. One of the guys I work with, his pants dropped down.
Oh my goodness.
So we handcuff him. We take him off the bus. Now he's crying. But he's playing the tough guy in the beginning, right? Then I look at him and go, "Oh, hell no. You peed your pants."
He wet himself.
Unbelievable. So I said to him, "You was talking all this, I'm the Jamaican red dot and all this, but yo, you urinated in yourself."
He was Lennox 10 minutes ago, and then...
Yeah, right.
And then he...
So in the 4th precinct shows up.
A whale up, you know, what happened?
Yeah, he's crying, they're laughing, they're like, "Yo, my man, you gotta go in the precinct and get processed." So we take everybody making fun of him. Like, you needed the pens, and it was going, "Me sorry, man." I said, "I begged you to pay. And what did you tell me?"
You just wanted to take it somewhere else.
So now you got to speak to the district attorney and judge. That's on video. Those cameras are clear as day on those buses. People don't realize.
Yes,
clear as day. I said, so when they reviewed the video, now when I was in plain clothes, I looked like one of the homies on the street. You would never know.
Mm-hmm.
So the district attorney goes, "Who was that guy? Who was that citizen helping you?" He go, "He's with us." They go, "He's with you guys?" Because they couldn't believe it. See, he gets that look all the time where people don't believe who he is. Even when he was in the police department doing undercover, they never believed it. Like when I was buying guns and drugs, like in the end, when I got the guy, he goes to me, nah, Mike ain't down. There's no way. Nah, not him. I walk in, throw my ghost shield on the table and walk out. He's like, they don't still believe it. You know they believe it? When you're sitting on the stand and they with the defense attorney, they're looking at you like this.
But there's no denying it at that point.
But I still don't believe it.
I love the fact that you mentioned the booming system and the expedition.
Yeah.
Because hip-hop is so quilted into the fabric of our culture.
Right.
You know, it's a genre, but it's more than that. A lot of our officers have had the opportunity to protect and
Right.
work with some of the artists. I hear you've been connected with one of the greatest ones, you know,
Busta
that we did,
Rhymes.
Busta
That's the
Rhymes,
man.
Mr. Smith, as we used to
Right.
call him in Turtle Hook Junior High School.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Tell me a little bit, because we don't hear about the hip hop police now.
Right.
There is such a major resistance with our
Mhm.
younger artists now
Right. They
in
won't do
having
nothing.
actual
Right.
legal
Mhm.
protection. It's a
Mhm.
lot of homeboy security.
Right.
Rest in power, Young Dolph, a casualty of homeboy
Yeah.
security.
Homeboy security. Yeah.
King Vaughn,
King Vaughn.
a casualty of homeboy security.
Yeah.
The list
It
is
goes on.
infinite.
It goes on and on.
I
Yeah.
think for us, Biggie and Pac shifted that.
Yeah.
Because when we see other artists such as 50 Cent, he has real security.
Well, 50.
So tell us about your experiences with Busta and the hip hop police.
Okay,
if
with
you can.
50 always said, I don't need security because I got NYPD intelligence following me where they go. But say what? Because two guys I know were always following 50.
Okay.
After the thing with Bigga them happened. But how I got involved with Busta Rhymes is kind of sad, but it ended up being a good thing.
Okay.
Where I'm in the squad one day, and I'm looking at the 61 was the complaint reports,
Okay.
and it was a domestic violence thing with his baby mother. And then when they says the person's nickname, AKA Busta Rhymes, I'm like, what? Busta Rhymes? I love Busta Rhymes. I said, I can't take this. So man, the guy, I can say his name, but he blocked up everybody. I'll take it, right? So I remember we worked through with his lawyer and Colin, I said his name. He's a comedian too. He told the lawyer, if he don't be here at such a time tomorrow, when he's at Madison Square going, woo, I'm going to snatch him out before I go holler, and he's going to be off that stage, right? So he came. I mean, people going crazy. He came in, and I shook his hand, we're talking, and he signed autographs, taking pictures, and blah, 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 and the third. And they did a thing where they call it a walkthrough, where they speed him through the system, because he's a celebrity. So we walked him through, and he says, you guys looking for work? I said, we got to get permission to work for you. So you got to put off duty employment form. You got to fill out, which was approved. So we were legit. We worked for him, like we had different shifts. Like if you were doing something, you had to be in the studio and do what you had to do. And I mean, I did those being. And what's that song? Do 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 do.
Put your hands where your eyes could see.
I've heard that. It had to be 20,000 times. 20,000 times. And I kept on saying, it drove me to the point when it was a hit. I'm like, oh man, they know what they doing. I didn't know. I heard it every day for hours. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. They come up the thing. I met Crazy Legs. I met Rod Digger. I met so many nice people, whatever. And it was an experience going, traveling, MTV, doing this. And I remember on the MTV Awards, the red carpet thing, I wasn't there long. Puff Daddy, Puff, whatever you want to call his name, was there. And I dealt with Eminem before he blew up with him. My name is, we bodyguarded him for a minute. So we're at the awards in Manhattan. So my friend's brother, who's corrections, bodyguards Puffy. So Puffy comes out on the red carpet, and I was standing somewhere where he thought I was winning security. So Puffy's very nasty, by the way. And he goes, yo, mother effer, what you doing over there? Huh? I said to him before I started, you got the right one. That's what I told him, you got the right one. I said, let me tell you something, you Puff Daddy, Puff the Magic Daddy, whatever mother effing your name is, I don't work for you. All right? So you can kiss my entire black ass and talk to your security like that. I ain't that dude. Matter of fact, if your security's right now, I would have clocked you, son. Now he's looking at me like this. Right? The other security's like kind of grinning because he didn't really pay them well. Right? I said, so what's good now, man? You got anything to say? He walks away. My friend's brother goes, yo, like that. I said, how you gonna put with a guy that don't pay you well and talk down to you like you a peasant? I said, this my man Trapper take care of us. And we're like family. You look out for us. His mother loved me, blah, 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 the third. I said, that's what you put to treat your employees. You don't treat them like like he did those and Dave Chappelle were, get me some goat milk and the guy's carrying him on his back and all that. That's kind of based on the truth. You know what I mean? The stuff that he did with the people trying to get famous. So when I saw him again, like somewhere else, whatever, he remembered. He stayed away from me. Because his mind was, that dude crazy. And he don't work for me, so guess what? If I don't work for you, what do you tell me to do?
Absolutely nothing.
So the sad part how we lost with Trevor was one night, I told the husband this, he was going to go to the tunnel that night.
The world famous tunnel.
Been there a
For
lot
all of you that missed out, golden era.
Yeah,
golden
Mr.
era.
Golden, Paradise Garage, or something like that. The shelter. I was a clubbing dude, and I told him, "Don't go, don't go, man. Ain't worth it. Whatever. We ain't there with you. All right. Remember, we're the legally on people. You're not." I said, "Don't go." What does he do? He goes. Driving a black man driving a nice Mercedes-Benz, speeding on the West Side Highway. Boop, 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 boop. Gun. Got arrested. That made the news and everything. We get the call. I'm like, didn't I tell this dude to not do that? But why do you have to do it? Now, being that he got the gun, guess what that means for us? We can't work for him no more.
Right.
Because he's considered a felon. And I like working for him. He was good people. I haven't seen him in a minute. Good people. But we had to fall back in regards to working for him. And it hurt because we had a good time to travel. Bobby Parker, may he rest in peace, and Jimmy Nash, they went to London with him and Germany when they did the thing. And when Bobby and Pat got killed, September 10th, 2004, Buster came to his wake because he liked Bobby. He can't, everybody said, oh, he's that. Because he knew, he said Bobby was a good dude, man. And the way they went out, how they got killed that night, was, it was the anniversary for 9/11. I'm going to tell you, my mother used to call this a divine intervention. I worked around the clock on a person that was stabbed 61 times, right, in his bedroom. Around the clock. We found out who it was. We get him. We do what we got to do. And the person that ended up killing Bobby and Pat, I was with Bobby when he locked that guy up the first time. He always wanted to fight, whatever. And my mother calls me and tells me, I need a favor. I said, what's up, Ma? She goes, I need you to take me to Costos. I said, Ma, I'm making money. She said, oh, I need you. I said, I'll tell you what, Ma, I'll call you back later. Something's telling me, go to your mother. I'm fighting it. I make this money. Something tells me, go to your mother. So if we pull a block away from the precinct, me and my man Hector, Hector go, what are you going to do, my man? I think I'm going to go take my mother and deal with that pain line Costos. So now I go into the precinct. I go up to the squad office. Bobby tells me, I got a phone call that the guy I'm looking for is at his mother's house. And I was going to say, let's go. But something told me, go to your mother. I said, Bob, my mother. He said, no, you got one mother and there's no other. Go. So I leave. Now I drive out to the 5 towns. I'm dealing with this aggravation of traffic. I'm dealing with the lines of Costos. I'm like, oh, I'm losing my mind. I go back to my mother's house and I fall asleep. 8:20 p.m. I wake up in a sweat. My brother's looking at me like, you all right? I said, no. Man, I said, I feel
The sense
death. I said, it's not family death, but I feel death. As soon as I said that, breaking news, 2 detectives from the 6-7 precinct have just been shot. That's what I was feeling. My mother goes, I said, I got to go. I'm going on Linden Boulevard, running lights, which I was doing, running lights to get there. There were so many police cars, cop cars, everything. They were lined up. I had to park my car and run. But I get to the front of Kings County Hospital because they didn't say who it was. People go, we thought you were with them. I run into emergency, see Pat covered, and he's starting to turn a certain color. Bobby was still fighting like this. Now I'm looking at the spiritual sense, like the ancestors are saying, it's right over here. You can come on. He's like, no, I got things that I got to do here that I'm not finished with. Now, mind you, Bobby Parker was a power lifter. He pushed up 500 pounds like it was nothing. He was like an NFL middle linebacker, and he was light on his feet. You see a big guy like that, you can laugh like that dude can move, whatever. He was well loved by everybody. FBI, he was, and loved to eat. Loved to eat. He enjoyed his food. So when I'm watching him do that, and then his arm went like that, to the line, they were still working on him, I knew he was gone. Now there's a officer who's now, believe it or not, an inspector. She was a civilian when I met her through him. I come out the emergency room, and I give her that look. To this day, I will never forget that scream she let out. I will never forget it. I mean, it sends chills to the body when I think about it. And she was jumping up and down, and I didn't have to say anything. She knew he was gone, whatever. And that broke me in the sense where, we do this job every day, and boom, something like that can change your life forever.
Right.
I mean, this is the guy he arrested 2 prior times. And the guy ended up getting his gun, shooting him with the gun, and shooting Rafferty with the gun. Now, when the guy was running away, before Rafferty passed, he took a lucky shot and shot the guy, hit him in the foot. Okay? Now, we're in the precinct. We heard the manhunt that he's on, I think, New York, if I remember, New York Avenue. So we're closing in. And I'm not going to say who the boss was, but he's up there. And I said, so what are we going to do when we get there? This is what I get. They talking about execution. Wait, he was talking. I didn't say a word. I was like, oh. So at the time, Chief Esposito was the chief of patrol. He coordinated and said, nobody's going to be around the perp except for ESU. And his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend gave him. So we get there, they handcuff him. And, you're angry. You took people I cared about off this planet. So I remember the next day, they were bringing him in the precinct. The whole precinct was down on the main floor. You could hear a pin drop. I heard it was a radio chatter. And they were walking in. You had an inspector behind him. You had Tyrell, which is the people that do all the technical stuff, whatever, filming. So he can't say, oh, they beat me up. They did this. They walked him in. They live scanned the fingerprints, whatever. And you're just looking at this guy like, this is the dude that took my buddy away, And they gave our squad a week off, which means they had people cover us. When I came back, Bobby sat behind me. Rafferty sat next to me. I did not sit on that side of the office for a week because it just made me very depressed. Bobby Parker making jokes, laughing. He was a big Trekkie fan, a big James Bond fan, and you're gonna miss the laugh and everything like. He was a good person. Rafferty, good person, hunter, wife, family, whatever, good people. And bad things happen to good people, as they say. So when we had to do the funeral, I don't know if you ever seen a police funeral. It's very prestigious. Yeah. But to be inside of the real thing where you actually know the person and you see behind the scenes where we had to be in our dress blues. We had to stand by the casket and parade rest while people come view the body. And then when it's time to get your relief, the person salutes you and you move on like that. So I had to do 2 funerals in a week, police funerals in a week. So we did Rafferty's first, and that was big. That was big. I remember when his son's coming to church, he had his daddy's hat, and he's doing the salute. That touched me. I was like, oh, man. Then you go to the cemetery, and everybody places a rose on the casket, do a salute. And then we had to do that 2 days later with Parker. And that's where Buster showed up. So I walked him in there, and he was hurt by seeing that. And he kept on saying, he's a good dude, man. Why would somebody do that to him? I said, well, Buster, no disrespect. There's a lot of people like that in this job that don't get the credit that what they do. I said to him, I've taken kids, I risk kids where they want to be gangster, right? That's okay. I go get their mother's permission. I want to take them to see an autopsy. Have you ever seen an autopsy done?
No.
You don't want to see that. It's very depressing, disgusting. And I always tell people I've watched it so many times to the point I can do one. That's how many times I watched an autopsy. So I took these 4 kids, I'm going to say who their names are, all gangsters. And I said to them, this is this experience you will never forget. I said, when you walk into that morgue, you're going to smell something you will never forget. It's the smell of death. There's 2 things in life you don't forget when you smell it. Burning flesh and the smell of death. I said, now, I have to have you wear the mask, put some Vicks vapor rub on your nose, because no matter what, you're going to smell it. Now, the people in the morgue, they love stuff like that. They want to bring you the worst of the worst. So we walk in. They know I hated going there. I hated going to that place. So we get there. We put on the smocks. You put everything, the thing you had on, whatever. And they look. The guys I know are looking at me, say, "Read it. Well, no, you don't like being down here. Imagine them." I said, "You'll see." They brought this young boy, 16, that was riddled with bullets. The look on their face. Remember, he's as old as you are.
Right.
Now he's laying on a slab. They're working on him. One kid almost to the point he was ready to faint. I had to catch him. I said, see, don't you notice when you go to a funeral and you watch a person that was murdered and it's like, it's not themselves. They clean you out. They clean you out. So they did a wide incision. They cut you open. They remove your ribs. They remove everything out of your body, right? They do that part, and they put in the biohazardous bag. Now, these kids are watching. They couldn't believe what they're seeing. I said, oh, wait till the other thing said. The other thing happens. He goes, what do you mean? I said, remember that rap record when DMX said, you got what you came for? A point with the buzzsaw? You going to see what that buzzsaw is good for. They cut your skull. They pop it. They take your brain out. And they put it in a big glass jar. They sew you up. They sew you up. You know what they say? He's ready. Take him to the funeral home. Next.
I know you had a connection with X2, one of our DMX.
Well,
have you met him?
I met him the night when we went to the tunnel with me, Trev, Spliff, Scratch. We all went to the tunnel that night. And I met Tribe Called Quest, gentleman.
Pulpit, the original Tribe?
Right, the original one.
The original
Tribe. And
nice.
I was like in awe. I was trying not to show it, but I'm in awe. Like, yo, that's a Tribe Called Quest, man, right there. And then we were in the back room, and it was just so like mellow. And how you doing, brother? Everything good? Cute? Everything good, man? I said, I'm good, man, but no disrespect. I'm a big fan. He said, nah, no, brother. Yeah, I like that. You know, you keep on doing what you're doing with the NYPD, because y'all get a bad rap. I said, well, I ain't one of those dudes. He said, I could tell by your vibe and this and that and third. So when we had to keep the girls away from Buster, because they were always trying to get around him, whatever. So DMX is up there doing his thing. I'm like.
Was this the night the Get At Me Dog video was filmed?
Right.
Big night.
So where he's doing his thing, and I said, that dude's on the devil's something. I don't want to be disrespectful. And they go, what? I said, yo, let me tell you, all our families, we have people that done things like drugs, whatever. He got the signs. Spliff thought I was crazy. I said, yo, that dude on the pipe. Nah, man, there's no way. Kind of find out later what? Right?
The demon of addiction was on him.
There you go, like when we was smoking. He was on it. But he put on the show that night. I ain't gonna lie. He put on the show. He did what he did. And I'm sorry to say, there's some ladies in this world that we saw what they did and what they do to get next to these artists. And it's just so sad that you're gonna SLUT yourself to get to an artist. You don't do that. You know, the things I saw that night in the tunnel, I'm not gonna speak on it. But it was very shocking for what I saw. And when the females did what they did, they get up and say, oh, when y'all ready to leave, I'm going with y'all, right? I'm like, I thought this is DMX's entourage.
Right.
I'm like this. You gotta be kidding me. You know? And same thing when I'm with Buster, and these females like, oh, Buster, whatever. Because he pulled up in his Phantom one day. We was like his Rolls Royce thing. I get in the car, and this is what I do. Oh, Oh. The girl was going, what are you doing? I said, I got to suck up the luxury because when the next time I'm being a Rolls Royce, next time I've been in a Rolls Royce. I'm sucking up the luxury. The girl go, you stupid. I said, no, I'm not stupid. It's just, you tell me, young lady, when I'm being in a Rolls Royce again. That's what I did. So I enjoyed it. He always had these nice cars and whatnot. And one thing I loved about Buster, he was funny. He has a great sense of. I haven't seen him a couple of years. See, but in that game, if you know about the rap game, those dudes always change their cell numbers. It's hard to keep up with them. So years later, I'm at Dwayne Reed in the city on 42nd Street. I was doing LP there. This white phantom pulls up. I said, yo, because a lot of celebrities came, like Dennis Rodman, they all come through that store. So I see this phantom pull up. I'm like, yo, who's that? Yo, nigga. It was him. He comes, grabs me. Yo. He was so happy to see me. And then my coworkers go, you really know him? You really know him? I said, let me tell you something about me. I'm not going to tell you something I don't know. And Buster goes, does he know me? This my man's in them right here. You know, blah, 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 whatever. So he goes in the store. We're hanging out. I get his number. And I get in the phantom. Again, there's a girl in there. I do the same thing. Oh. The girl goes, what are you doing? I said, like I said before, I don't know, the next time I'm being something like this, I'm soaking up the luxury. Maybe this richness of maybe hit me, but I can get something like that.
On Egyptian cotton sheets for
Exactly.
the first time. You don't.
Right.
If you're on vacation, you want to enjoy it. Because you don't know when you're going to get a chance to do it again. What do you think the impact, because I'm thinking of you as a younger officer in your expedition, enjoying the music that has come out of our culture.
Yeah.
What do you think the impact of hip-hop has been on the community then and now from a law enforcement perspective?
Then, hip-hop had a message, which I loved about it. I mean, X-Clan, Biggie, Biz Markie. It was like, he was like comical. Q-Tip. I'm trying to think of all the other, there's so many. R.B. and Rakim, Public Enemy, which I love to this day. Very radical. Matter of fact, the FBI was watching them for a while because they thought they were so like the Black Panthers, in other words. So the way,
I mean, when we saw the video that was filmed in Brooklyn.
Fight the Power.
Fight the Power.
Yeah.
I can imagine from a Federal Bureau of Investigation's perspective, that was scary for them.
Because you see, what did J. Edgar Hoover, I'm going to see if you guys know, and I tell my white friends this, what was the biggest fear J. Edgar Hoover, who was the FBI director for 50 years, what did he fear? You know the answer to that?
The Black Messiah.
Not that. Because Black
Organization.
He feared, these are his words, my biggest fear is the unification of Negro people. So what does that tell you? If he's telling you that, where we as our people, why can't we get together and instead of being crabs, let's put our things to the side and let's organize and do something. I said, the problem, you know who's holding us back? Us. Like you have people that make it and they say, oh, I'm not, they forget. LeBron James is doing this thing with the school. He invested in school, make sure these kids is getting lunch programs, whatever. He went and invested back in the community. How many Black athletes, some of them do, but how many do that? They forget, or they be bourgeois, like, well, I ain't going back there, whatever. And there's some people, like, as a lot of rappers find out, there's some people you can't just be around anymore.
Right.
They still want to live that gangster life. They still want to, so, you know, you kind of got to distance yourself from them. Because if you don't, you're going to get in trouble, in a sense. So me, like I said, I used to listen to hip-hop every day, going to work, doing that thing. Then I started seeing it get kind of radical, gangster. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd be hypocrite to tell you. There's some gangster rap I liked. Like with NWA when they did Cruising my 6'4". That was my shit. That's a boom, 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 boom. I like that. But it had violence in it. I wasn't gonna sit there on you, but the beat was banging and everything. But now, all you hear in hip hop is my B, my Rollie, or what's the other one they talk about? I got a trumpet in my car. Why are you bragging about AK-47?
Mm.
So to me, now it's more destructive. We ain't even talk about drill rap. Drill rap is about dissing each other's sex, whatever, and people getting killed, especially
Murder
in
and mayhem.
Chicago. They're getting
Yes.
killed over that. So rap with is something positive to some things where these people like, they believe and hear what they see or hear, and they're trying to live that life.
Mm.
And that life is going where? To the penitentiary.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to the penitentiary, you get to the pen, dudes are going to tell you why you here.
Mm.
Oh, you believe that nonsense? Where your boy at?
Mm.
The only people that care about you is your family. Like when I had to lock that kid up for murder, who I knew was a little kid, I told him, when you go to trial, the only people are going to be there is your family.
Mm.
Now, when I arrested him back in the day, I went to his house. I got permission to search his room. His boys is in the pictures posing with guns like this. So I said to him at the court, where your boys at?
Mm.
They go, Mommy, Grandpa. And this dude just had a baby girl. That's the sad part. So his baby girl has to watch him grow up behind bars.
Mm.
That's the sad part. And you know what they say, when you do time, your family does time with you.
Right.
You know, Christmas, they wish you were there. Thanksgiving, wish you were there, whatever. And I tell these dudes, when I went upstate on a cold case, I went to Coxsackie, New York, the real jail, maximum.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something of a horror movie. You see this big thing, and I'm like, wow. You walk in here, that gate go clunk. That's real shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go in there, you're checking your gun. You see dudes walking around like this, on cock diesel and brolic, whatever, because all I do was lift weights. And I ran into a dude I knew up there. He said, yo, I said, what you know? He said, you know what I did, kid. You know I know what it is. And, you know, I would have been like you, man. He said, I was making fun of you. Look at you now, man. I said, well, my mama told me sometimes you just can't follow the crowd. Because if you look for trouble, it's easy to find.
It's there.
It's there. So I never forget this white correction officer, what he said. He goes to me, where you from? East New York, single mother. He said, let me ask you a question. You had the choice of going this way or going that way. Now, a lot of your friends that are here went that way. What was your choice? I had a mother that I was scared of. And anything I wanted to do, I was thinking of that belt, that famous belt she had, or the switch. And you know, back then we get the switches. And that was just so much pain for me. So I always say, oh, no. And I hated, you know, back, kids today, they don't care about being punished in the house till they got Xbox. Back then, you got punished in the house, that was like a death sentence. You know, I want to go outside.
Well, kids, honestly, a lot of the control of parents has been minimized.
It has.
And watered down.
It has.
What is your thoughts on, because I hear you loud and clear when you talk about how there was more variety in hip hop then,
Right.
and now we're in the murder mayhem phase.
Right.
When Tribe said you're one of the good guys, what is your thoughts on the thought that our officers that share our pigmentation are somehow not a part of us anymore and are sellouts? What is your thought?
My opinion with that is, believe it or not, there's two types of guys that are good. But you have people that want to be down with that crew. And I've always told people, I'm not a sellout. I'm not, what's right is right and wrong is wrong. If you arrest somebody, or you had a good fight with somebody, now you put handcuffs on them, now you want to hit them. No. When the handcuffs is over, it's done. You want to shoot a fair one? You shoot a fair one to the... Now, that's what's driving me crazy when they put the handcuffs on. I said, no. We ain't doing that. I said, to me, that showed me how much of a punk you are. You gotta wait for 10 or 15 years to get here, handcuffs on them, then you want to beat them up. No. I said, I ain't gonna lie to you, I had some good fights when dude almost got me, but when the handcuffs is on, it's over. He can talk shit, whatever, guess what? He gotta talk to the judge and do what he gotta do from there. But don't do that. Don't do that, because now you give them the reputation where, even though I'm not like that, they think I'm like that because of your actions. Or, for example, you're in the street, like there's so many people I tried to talk out of being arrested. And they cursing and carrying. I said, listen.
you don't be quiet, you're going to get arrested. Oh, I have that. I said, listen, once they come to put handcuffs on you, I can do it. I'm trying to avoid you from going that route. So it's up to you. Some people listen. Some people don't listen. They got then they get arrested. I come out and get a soda. Yo, detective, let me talk to you for a minute. I said, what? But you wouldn't be if you would listen to me. Yeah, I know, but I was heated. We all get heated. But the point is, you gotta know how to control your heatness. I said, believe me, I had to control myself on a lot of things I've been through in life. It's not worth it because you're not going to win. You're not going to win. Because they'll get you for disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, you're done. Then you gotta go to a judge and explain to them why'd you do what you did. Alright? So please, do me a favor. Calm down. I had a guy at a shooting, he was talking that deep Jamaican drawl, thinking I understand what he was talking about. He made threats of killing my kids in Jamaican. I said to him like this, that's strike one. He talked to my mother, strike two. And I said, I know what to say. Keep on talking. I grabbed him, boom, click, 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 take him to the precinct. Now he's crying like a little girl. I get him there, and if you know you're dirty, you set the radar, right? Why when we ran him, he had a warrant? All he did was keep his mouth shut. I would have never known. But he would have run his mouth to the point now, he said, Bobby, no. All you had to do is this. Now you could have said anything about me out of earshot, I wouldn't care. But you said it right there.
That goes back to what you said earlier about the tone.
Right.
The tone, and I like something else you say. The understanding is, once it starts to go in the direction that you know is going beyond the traffic stop or beyond the conversation,
Right.
you are not going to win.
You're not gonna win.
So you will either wind up with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and then you're going before a judge.
You're gonna answer it.
And you have to answer that. So tone and the understanding in this moment, you're not going to win.
Even if he has an attitude with you, what you gotta do as a person, you gotta say, yes sir, officer, understand. This is why I tell people, cops are human too, whether you don't believe it or not. They have feelings and emotions. If you sympathize with them, say, officer, I know you got a hard job to do, and I pray for you guys, and they look at you like they're not used to hearing somebody sympathize with them.
Because it's usually
attitude,
resistance.
And resistance.
And if not, I think the resistance is a lot of times generated by images.
Right.
And that's why actually the sellout question.
Right.
Because we don't see the men and women that are speaking to the community from your perspective.
Right. So they hide that. They don't tell you the stories with the kids I took to the morgue that all three of them had to go on a college for one. He got in trouble. He's doing time. He had the nerve to call me. I said, no. I took my time. I didn't get paid for that. It was out of the careness and the heart for you guys to do the right thing, and you still didn't listen to me. Now you're going away. For what? I said, so, as they say, you know better. You knew not to, I showed you to stay away from these people. What did you do? You did what you had to do. And one detective who was a mentor of me, he did 30-something years, I said, so Jimmy, you about to retire, so what's good? And this is exact words he said. No, don't forget, it was kind of a bad attitude kind of thing, but the things he's seen, I understand why he felt that way. He said, these mother effers was killing each other before I got here. These mother effers was killing each other when I'm here. And these mother effers will continue to kill each other while I'm gone. They prove them right every time.
Every time.
They prove them right. Like the kid, we went to this apartment near Vanderveer, and one of my guys grabbed one guy. I see a guy put a Mac 11 in a plastic bag. That's like a Uzi. He climbs to the window. Now the houses are connected. If you know flappers, houses are connected. So like a jackass, I'm chasing this kid. He got hit with this, but happened. So I'm jumping from roof to roof, boom to roof, boom to roof. He running, boom. He was smart. He never turned around. He turned around when he ran out of houses to go to. And he just stood there. And I go, yo, please don't let me do this, please. It was scary because he just stood there. And he jumped into the darkness, not looking what was down there. And that reminded me of the movie, The First Power. You ever seen that movie?
Yes.
When he jumped up, see you around, buddy boy, and he jumped, that scared me. I'm like, oh, he got this.
He jumped in the darkness,
Yeah.
physically and metaphorically.
Yeah, he jumped in there. I'm like, he got a pass. Ironically, a week later, guess what I see?
The same young man,
Shot up.
dead.
No, he was alive, but I
He
saw him.
survived.
He died later. But he shot up. He's saying how scared he is. He's cold. He's crying. And I'm saying to him, my man, what? I was saying, who did this to you? He's giving me a name, nickname, whatever. Because they call it a die declaration where, you know, the person about to die, they tell you who did it, whatever. So I'm taking information now. Frank Barone Funeral Home is right on the block where he was shot. That's where his waking funeral was. A block away from where he died from the funeral home. How ironic is that? Sad.
That's the jump in the darkness.
Yeah.
Would you say the real ninjas and the baddies culture that is now saturating hip hop plays a major role in what we're seeing as far as the murders, the disconnection from our elders, and how our children are being raised?
Yeah. It's sad because, like I said, it's like there's no morals in a lot of things anymore. Like, they treating women like bees and sex objects and this and the third. Some of these women are just dressing so provocative. I'm not saying nothing wrong provocative, but if you just go out there and show what you got, come on. I like a woman that's covered up and make you think. You showing me all your goods right then and there? Well, that let me know as a man. Are you a trick? That's
kind of like a gift.
Right.
When someone buys, when you get a gift,
Right.
the wrapping, the bow,
Right.
the anticipation of the unwrapping.
Right.
And so many of our younger women now, and some of our seasoned women too, there's no wrapping.
No.
And when there's no wrapping, there's no element of surprise.
Yeah. Like
the
TikTok.
thrill of the chase
Right.
is gone.
Right.
And then you have on the other spectrum the real ninja mentality. What is a real ninja to you? I'm not going to use the other word. What is a real ninja? When you hear that, what do you think about?
I really don't pay any attention, believe it or not. I really don't pay attention because it got to the point that we're being labeled in certain things and certain things like whatever. Like when I talk about politics and I say to them, Barack Obama was one of the smartest presidents we ever had. And I said the reason why he always hesitated when he talked because every word was being scrutinized where they go, aha! When he said this. So he had to always think before he speak as compared to Mr. Agent Orange. He can say anything and he gets away with it. And I say to people all the time, you want to know the definition of white privilege? Look at Donald Trump. I said my white friends that. Because if that was Obama, tiki torches and protesters in front of the White House, but how come he can get away with that? And I tell these young people about voting. I said, my grandma told me she watched people get lynched and stuff like that. And she made it a thing where I didn't know as a young, they actually got a right to vote, that black folks had to take a test to vote. I didn't know that. I'm like, what? Yeah, we had to take a test. My mother said, no, we helped her pack. My grandmother had 3rd grade education. Not to her fault, that's the way it was.
That's just the way it was.
But she voted, and my grandmother always told me, listen, I don't care who's running or who you don't like, exercise your vote. Because people have been sprayed with water hoses, they've been bitten by dogs, they've been beat up on bridges for you to pull that lever. And she said, if it's not so important, why are they doing everything to stop you from doing it? And I said, that's a great point. You know, because I wasn't really into voting, probably I am now. So I don't care if it's a little, like, we just had the city council thing a while back in New York. I voted everything. And I always say to myself when I do it, Grandma, this is for you. It's no longer here. My mother saw a black president, my grandmother did. Right? So my mother, I don't know how your moms, everybody, when they saw Barack, it was like, oh, Barack, you know, whatever. And the first family. And I remember I was at 42nd Street when it happened. I saw the big screen. And I couldn't believe it. I'm actually watching a person that's the president. Because we were kids, we would always say, ain't gonna never be a black president. And you
It was such a far-fetched idea.
Yeah.
It was for us, it was more realistic to just be rich.
Right.
Than to think of something like to be sitting in the executive office. And I think that went over so many of our young people's heads, how powerful that was for the elders. You know, despite what your political associations and opinions of what he was able to accomplish in those 8 years.
Right.
His presence in that seat. My Nana didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
You know, but my mom did.
Mom
but
did too.
the elders, if I'd have said that to my Nana, they'd say, oh, stop it. The closest they saw to a president who was in conjunction with black people was Kennedy.
Exactly.
Because they would have Martin on one side, Kennedy on the other side.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thought of him us actually having one of us in that seat.
And you know the sad,
sad
part about that? I don't know if you remember when he got elected, and I told my white co-workers this, I said, how come anybody's been elected president has never said what Mitch McConnell said? They said, what's that? He didn't even hold his hand up. It was during January. And you know what Mitch McConnell said? We're going to make sure he's a one-term president. Why did he say that? He wasn't even sworn in yet. But yeah, he fooled them. He ended up being a two-term president.
Yes, he did. Because
people liked what he did. And when he was getting the economic thing together, Trump tries to get the credit, in a sense. And Trump has not apologized to the people that were in the exonerated fine as a Central Park.
Correct.
So now, I'm going to tell you something real quick. You Salam may not remember this, but I remember like yesterday. I was at 110th and Lenox, the day before the verdict came down. He beats the fair. I said, Yusuf. He says in uniform, come in. Come on, man, you got the spotlight on you? You gonna do that? I said, do you know if I arrest you right now, every news channel is gonna be at that command, because what's going on. But I'm not gonna do that. And I said, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy what I'm about to say to you. I don't think you guys did it. Exactly what I said to him. I don't think you guys did it. I said, there's so much pressure on this case, like the Red Bull, that they want to solve. White woman beat up, or they want to solve. Central Park, because like I said, it's not supposed to happen there. Right. East New York, Brownsville, do or die, they expect that, not Central Park. Right? So now they go away. Now you seen when they see us, you seen that documentary? It's so sad what they went through. And my man Trump, I remember back in the day, took out an article about
in the Daily News, I remember.
The death penalty.
Yes.
Has he ever apologized for that?
That has not come across.
And and they have DNA evidence that they had nothing to do with it.
They haven't admitted an admission.
Right.
Because the
guy
scoundrel that did it basically said he watched when he met Brother Raymond Santana in upstate prison.
Right.
He got up the courage, if you want to call it that, to apologize. Raymond didn't know what the heck he was talking about.
He didn't know.
And he said, I saw them walk you guys in front of that camera. Yeah. And he was actually convicted of a very similar crime. So shout out to the exonerated 5. I understand Brother Yusuf is now running for political office.
He won office.
He won office.
Yeah, I saw it on the news.
Congratulations. Congratulations, because their journey was incredible. And
I don't know how, let me tell you something. You know, when you go up north, I tell these young knuckleheads, like I'll give you an example. Back in the day when my daughter was starting to date, first impression is the best impression. Which means you come to meet the father, you gotta come dressed a certain way. Now, when the guy was coming, I made sure with my shoulder holster so you can see the 9. Like Will Smith did that.
Yes, Will Smith and Martin.
So when he walks, I open the door, I look at him. He's like, "You got a gun."
She didn't warn him.
I said, "No." I go, "You're damn right I do."
Shout out to her.
I said, "So what's good?" He couldn't even really talk. Come on in. When I seen those pants hanging off his butt, I was like, nah. I sat him down. I said, "Let me ask you a question. What's your waist size?" "Oh, why do you ask?" "This is curious." "Then why do you don't wear pants that don't fit you?" All right, I'm gonna give you an example of something, and you're not gonna like it. Are you available? What do you mean I'm available? Because in jail, when you wear your pants like that, you available. Now he looks at me. I said, "Stop following the trend what these people are doing. That's jail." So when you get mad, I said, "Oh, you like to get it?" That's what you're showing me. So why get mad at me? That's what you're showing. Don't do that. Matter of fact, you wouldn't take my daughter out. I said, because of how you came with first impression. Come to find out years and years later. Matter of fact, this year I found out. My daughter said he had 6 different baby mamas. And I said, "You see?"
Dodge that.
I said, I kept you away from a dude. Because see, men, it's like women know women, men know men.
Absolutely.
That's just the way. That's how I always tell people, be careful. Like, there's a man code and there's a woman code. It's just the way it is. There's some things that we know we're not going to talk about. No matter what you come out I want to. Nope. I say that. It's just, it's like we ask y'all something. "Oh, well, you know, it's just the way it is." Because see, women are emotional, men are visual. That's a fact.
That is a fact.
That is a fact. That's why when y'all get really emotional, we can't talk to you. When you get in an argument, you get mad. But let me speak. You're like, what am I gonna
That
win?
switch goes off.
Right.
Before we go, if there was a grain of advice you could give to our community in helping our officers serve and protect, what would it be?
Get to know them. Remember, they're human. Go. You know what you got to do also? They have a thing called a community board where they meet with community affairs and they have meetings every month in regards to like certain things in the neighborhood, like they're parking illegal cars here, and you get to know the officers personally. Like my man Skit, who retired, he was big time community affairs. He got to know everybody. I give a shout out to the man Detective Hutchinson, who they loved in Flatbush. They didn't want to see him retire. He was a very community guy, and he was West Indian. He's from Trinidad. They used to call him the green eye, because he had green eyes or a red bone guy or whatever. The woman, they tell you sit and they go, ooh, you know, whatever. But that's the kind of, you want that. You got to get, see, the thing is, I'm saying if you got to work, you got to, but there's nothing wrong with going in and say to people, "Can I talk to community affairs for a minute? What do you guys do, and how do I get to know officers? Do they have any programs where kids can join?" And they do, where they can be in doing so and so and so and so. But the thing is, you don't know unless you ask. That's the thing. You sitting there like, "Well, you see bad news with these cops. Well, look where these cops did now, whatever." Now we are painted with the same brush that we're not. Like when Diallo got, not Diallo, when they shot the 41 shots.
Abner. No.
Right?
Diablo.
Yeah, Diallo.
Right.
But they shot the 41 shots. I remember I had to go on that march detail with Al Sharpton to do something at the UN. And let me tell you, my dogs were barking because I walked from the UN to City Hall. I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk. They had to get in the car. I couldn't walk. We walked with these people all the way downtown. And I remember people saying to me, which I agree, they said, "You gonna shoot me, officer? Here's my wallet." But see, we're in uniform. You can't be political. You gotta be. You can't say nothing. And I'm like, I ain't that dude. But you wearing that uniform, you're just like that. Then you get to, when we got to City Hall, I remember they had the hats and bats ready. And they stopped, and everybody went home, in a sense. And when I used to run Al Sharpton that when, you know, when we went into police shootings, I just said, I don't know if you heard him, I don't know, remember Davis, Councilman Davis that got killed?
Yes.
I worked with him and he was in Watts, real nice guy. He's always, I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna be somebody. That's on his face.
That was his slogan.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be somebody. And I said, come on, Dave. He said, my brother went to school, so he goes, I'm gonna be somebody. And he got killed, that was sad. But see, he was doing the gun thing before kind of Sharpton was doing it. Gun violence and all that. So the only thing I used to tell Sharpton was, how come you have to show up after the fact? Dave was just out front before it was going on. I put the guns down, whatever. But you're coming in trying, and I'm not saying every cop shooting is right. I'm not saying that. But don't make it political. If the guys are wrong, they're going to be punished. But you can't, when you do something, aren't you presumed innocent before proven guilty?
Oh, no. Robert, I think sometimes the pigmentation doesn't fit the situation.
That's true. I'll give you an example. Because of that case I told you about with the photo array, I got transferred in because that other didn't give me due process. When that thing came, it hit the news. Channel 2, 4, 7, 5, 7, 11. Yo, blowing my phone.
Correct.
Right? And I said, no comment, no comment. Next thing you know, is that my man? Oh, I gotta go.
How's it going?
I'm sorry, I'm getting all excited. You see my man right there.
I was interviewing.
The thing is, I'm supposed to talk, I see my man right here. But the thing is, I was guilty for proven innocent.
Right.
Now you gotta remember, when I retired, they were DO-15, which means they read your rights, and if they find your line, they can terminate you. I read my rights, did what I had to do, and the guy from IB said, the only reason we have you here is because this was in the paper. You're cleared of everything. I got my good guy letter, which means I left with raw standards. So when that thing came out in March, that thing in the paper where they overturned the conviction, but had nothing to do with the photo array, I'm the guilty guy, and it wasn't even me. So the vice president of buses calls the big wig and says, I want him off the street, he's not writing summons anymore. I'm like, well, yo, I didn't do anything wrong. And even the guy told him, if he did anything wrong, he wouldn't be here. Well, I want him off the street. He got either go to Vandal, C3, or the SIG. So I got pulled off the street, even though I was cleared, and now I'm in the SIG doing 2 to 10s now, with Saturday, Sundays off. And everybody in the unit was saying, why? I said, I don't want to go there in a sense, because, you know, the good old boy network is in effect. And I was one of the good old boys, I think I wouldn't have been transferred, and I'm going to leave it at that. Because I still got to make a living, you know what I mean? So then I found that they was trying to come through the back door at me a certain way. I got to argue with somebody who's connected, so I had to basically chill. So Lord willing, next December, I'm leaving. But technically, God willing, 62, which I don't look at, I can start collecting Social Security, right? So I got my thing mapped out where maybe in July, I'm gonna just do what I gotta do and map it all the way to the point where I'm gonna get out of there. Then I can talk. Because when you're under their control, they can say anything. Oh, well, you know, this is not dirty, and you did this, and blah, blah, blah. And I found out in the police department the same thing, where I was against the 41 shots fired. Oh, I took a lot of heat for that. Took a lot of heat for that. Where at the point, you're calling for help, they managed to show up and back you up. You're on your own. Which is sad, but you know that code of blue? I believe in the code of blue, but I believe in the code of blue when it's right. When it's right. In other words, somebody did what they did, you as an officer, you do your job. Nothing personal. But guys, I've seen when people are handcuffed and they're about to do this, no. Don't do that. You should have y'all should have shot a fair one before the handcuffs came on. Before they come. Sometimes you get the best of them, sometimes they get the best of you. Swallow up, Charlie. That's life. We all had, have you ever been in a fight?
Sure.
Okay. You get your butt kicked sometime before?
No.
No, come on. Everybody get their butt kicked once in a while. People get a butt kicked once in a while.
I've been blessed and victorious in my recklessness.
I don't know.
But I hear what you're saying, you know. Pick your battles, tone.
Right.
That's the loudest thing I want the people to hear when we talk about
attitude.
Right. Survive the encounter.
Right.
And then...
And don't make any affirmative movements in the car. Because remember, they run up on the thing, they're nervous. Most, believe it or or not, if you know your history of it, a lot of cops have been killed on what? Car stops. So that's why when you approach the car, you see them do the zigzag and they got their hands in their gun. They do it for a reason. I'm saying, you could be grandma. They're going to approach you a certain way. Then they see you are, they go, oh, okay, whatever. And everything comes to attitude.
Play. I like what you said. It's almost acting.
Right.
Because most of us don't want to ask, how was your day? How's it going? We know you have a hard, tough job.
Right.
That's not instilled in us.
Right.
There is that automatic, what are you stopping me for? There's real crime happening right now.
I've heard that.
Okay. But what we want to empower our people with, if it takes that to survive the encounter, get involved, be a part of the community board, be a part of the conversations,
Right.
get to know the names
Right.
and the players in your community in particular,
Right.
because that is going to promote not only the survival of our kids, but our kids understanding what their options are.
And also, as a parent, they have to think of PAL.
Yes,
PAL
there you
thing.
go.
A lot of cops are actually involved in that.
Yes.
They look forward to doing that. I was part of that for a minute or whatever. You can do anything positive to check. Those 4 kids I took to the morgue and they turned their lives around.
Yes.
When they went to college or whatever. Sometimes you got to do shock therapy. It's sad to say. Shock therapy to put something in somebody's face like death. And I seen actual death on an autopsy table.
Not
And
on video.
it was a person that was just like them. And they saw what they do to their body. And I said, you see, these are the things they don't tell you about in the street that goes on. And they would say, yo, son, no. This is what they do to you. If you're a victim of a homicide, this is what they do to you. They cut you up like, that's why they call it the meat mark, the meat department. They cut you up like meat. That's what they do.
And that is something that you cannot smell in HD. Thank you so much.
Quite welcome.
Mr. Reed. It was phenomenal.
Look forward to doing it again.
You saved some lives, and we will invite you back. And I
Oh, yeah.
hope that you are available.
No problem.
Thank you.
I hope I can change some people's
I think
people's
you have.
attitudes
I
about
think you have.
the police.
You
I
definitely
believe
have.
you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bigga, what's going on here? Bigga.
He won't answer you. That's my body. That's the way it's been ever since I was smoking pot. I used to be so energetic, used to have so much fun. But now, that's pretty much what it is. Boring, lazy, no energy. I just wish I had my body back. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you another day. I'm blessed to be here and be able to bring forth the word and try to correct some of the misunderstandings that the world have on many different things. As many of you know and have been keeping up with me, there was a lot of times on that other platform that I was on that it was things that I couldn't make clear to you, things that I wanted to make more clear, but it wasn't my platform. I praise God to have the opportunity now to be able to speak to you on certain issues more clear. So one of the concerning things that happened on the platform one day is that we was talking and I had said to the people that law enforcement was ordained by God. And I got so many hits about that in my inbox saying, oh, Bigga, you done went too far now. You're outrageous. How is that possible? Just went in on me because I understand that understanding is not there. Today, we're going to try to solve some of that like we do all the time. And I thank God that I'm here again to be able to come before you and try to share some of God's word with you that I want you to, on your own, go back and study for yourself. Look for yourself. Open up your heart and see things a different way. Now, there's one God. And if you truly believe in the Lord, you come to an understanding that everything works for the will of the Lord. That's scripture. There's nothing in this world that is not controlled by God. Everything is under God's control. He even controls the kings, the queens, everything is under his control. So when I said law enforcement and the government was ordained by God, people were hurt because I guess in many of our minds, we look at law enforcement as a great evil. We look at law enforcement and the government as some type of condemnation on our people, condemnation on our people. And it is, if you're not correct. You see, it was provisions made that if you get out of line to help put you back in line, it's not made frivolously. It is a reason why these things have been set in place. And we're going to go over all of that today. So, again, we have one God, and that God is the controller of everything. And the scripture tells us that all things work for the will of the Lord. So, with that understood, everything inside of your life, you have to know that it is God communicating to you. Everything that surrounds us is a form of communication with you and God. And as I said, there's so many layers to it. I will be here all the time to open up those layers and explain them to you because it can't all be done in the few minutes that I have allotted. But I will continuously be bringing forth these episodes. Every episode you will have me at the pulpit, and under the grace of our Lord and Savior, I will be speaking to you, and I will be speaking what I know to be true. Now, going back to the law enforcement and the government, powers that be, all the different names people come up with to label them. Let's look more into who these people really are and what is their job. What have they been called from the Lord to do? Or do they work for the devil? Like the world say, oh, that's the devil. Government is the devil. And it's the devil. Is this true? And this is very important because many of us believe in the Lord. Many of us say we believe in the Lord. Many of us say we believe in Jesus. But if you do not study the scripture and know what the scriptures speak and understand it and make it harmonize, it could be your defeat. Ignorance could be your defeat. You have to understand everything is in place for a reason. God makes no mistakes. So, with that being said, I would like to get straight to scripture, and I will deal with the scripture and elaborate. So today, we're going to start out with Romans 13, chapter Romans 13. Let every man be subject unto higher powers, for there is no power but God. The powers that be are ordained by God. First verse really explains it all. We don't, the first verse, shut that down right there. But let us go further and get a whole understanding. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the audience of God. And they that resist shall receive themselves damnation. Oh, okay. And you see what that just said? So if you resist the power, you go against these powers, you don't understand it's been ordained by God, you are already committing yourself to a form of damnation, according to the scripture. But let's go further so you completely understand what is taking place here. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Would thou then be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. What did that verse just tell you? You heard it loud and clear. The rulers are not a terror to good works. If you look to avoid the terror, do good work. And the same will be on your side and praise you. I know that's a hard pill to swallow. But you get like, oh, Bigga, the police beat us, the government this and the government that. How could this be? How could this be? Let's keep looking at what God is trying to say to us through the scripture. For he is a minister of God to therefore good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not a sword in vain. He beareth not a sword in vain. So again, this is someone who's been placed in power by God to work against evil, to work against those who are not in accord, out of line. Let's see what else the scripture says. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. All right, let's stop right here. Let's explain some things here. You know, I used to, at a point in my life, thought with the mentality that the police was the enemy. I thought with the mentality that the government was the devil, the enemy. I didn't think that as a child, though, you know. As a child, I wanted to be a part of the government, if anything. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to do these things. That the scripture is already saying these positions has been ordained by God. But let me think here. When did the cops become an enemy to me? When did the government look like it was evil to me? Oh, it's when I had disobeyed my mom. It's when I was no longer in the Garden of Eden. It's when I was cast out into the wilderness. Then, yeah, I was doing some things that was ungodly, that I'm ashamed of, that I would never bring light to. But that is exactly when I thought the police was trying to kill me. That's exactly when I thought they was trying to set me up. That's exactly when I thought the government was trying to lock me away and destroy me. But what was I doing? You see, how many of us don't want to look at what we do? You want to point the finger outside and say, this man is trying to do this to you. This man is trying to do that to you. What are you doing? What have you done? How many so-called innocent people are incarcerated? And don't tell me that you are innocent of this direct crime when you know you done did a whole list of things that was abominations that you didn't get picked up for or that you somehow avoided. But somehow the system come and still snatch you up. And you're innocent? You're innocent. Again, I didn't see police. I didn't see the government. I didn't see any of those things as corrupt or evil until I myself became corrupt and evil. Let's go on further with what the scripture says here. Wherefore, ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues. Tribute to whom tribute is due. Custom to whom custom. Fear to whom fear. Honor to whom honor. Oh, no man anything. Oh, no man anything. But to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. You remember the first time I came on this pulpit, I tried to explain to y'all the significance of love. Again, we have to make it harmonize. What did the scripture just say right there again? Let me repeat it. Oh, no man. Oh. Oh, no man anything, but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. We've already explained what it is to love your brother. To love your brothers, to give your life for your brother. We already been through that in scripture. If you haven't heard that, just go back to the channel and watch the first episode. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Whoa, this is so beautiful because this goes right back into the first time I came, was able to speak to you from here. Often theme that you hear in the Bible. Love your neighbor as yourself. Why? Because if God said to the least one, you do unto me, you see where we going with this? So if I was to love my neighbor as he was me, how could I fall into sin? You see how it's wrapped up together? Because if I kill somebody, I'd be killing my neighbor. If I committed adultery, I would have to be committing adultery on my wife. If I was to steal, I would be stealing from my neighbor. If I was to lie, bear false witness, I would be doing all of that to my neighbor. Who else are you going to be doing it to? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yourself. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. To the least one you doing to who? Maybe you're not putting it together, but we got a long time. Let's go further in the scripture. I love you guys. Now, it says, love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Didn't I just say that? Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Why? I just explained it to you. Maybe rewind it back a couple seconds. And that knowing the time that is now is high. Time to awake out of your sleep. For now is our salvation. Nearer than when we believed. So it's telling us to wake up because salvation is at hand. It's close, it's near. We're going to get into that later on too. How close are we? Can it even be calculated? Can we have a suggestion? That's coming up too. Let's continue. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. We all have failed short of the glory of the Lord. We all have wandered in the darkness. We all have been in need of the Good Shepherd. Let me tell you the beauty about the Good Shepherd. Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. And the Good Shepherd will leave his whole flock to go out in the wilderness to recover just one that have strayed away. Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. See how important that is? The salvation of one shepherd, one sheep, which is you, which is me. Let us not continue to be in the darkness once we see the light. When you're in the darkness and you see the light, you go towards the light. You're guided towards the light. You don't want to be in the darkness. Because when you're in the darkness, you're lost. You can't see. You can't find your way. And when you can't find your way, the light to guide you. The scripture here is telling us, again, cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. Let's go further. Let us walk honestly in the day, not rioting in drunkenness, not chambering in wantonness, not in strife, not in envy, but put on ye Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. Put on Jesus. Wow. Just look at that. But put ye on the Lord Jesus, and make no provision for the flesh. So again, let's back this up to the meaning of this again. Let every soul be subject unto a higher powers, for there is no power but God. The powers that be are ordained by God. So the police, the government is ordained. The scriptures even says, here God ministers. Oh, here's the problem now. Many of you will say, but Bigga, the police is evil. The government is wicked. Look what they've done. Well, what about them? You're talking some slavery nonsense, Bigga. Am I? What makes us think that something that I just said was not subject to them? What about what I said makes you think that wasn't subject to me? What about what I said makes you think that's not subject to those who've been in place? Those that have been in place and been ordained are the first that have to pay the price. It is our duty to warn the wicked of their evil ways, that thou shalt surely die. If we do not warn the wicked of their evil ways, that they shall surely die, they will die anyway in their own iniquity, but their blood will be held accountable on those that was given the power and ordained by God to do the job. We are subject to this first. And you see it every day. You see it every day. Do you think that any is going to escape from judgment? Each and every one of us will be held accountable one day for every word that have came out of our mouth, for our ways, our actions, our thoughts, even our thoughts. So this ministry is not a one-sided thing. This is profitable for every man. Nobody escapes the wrath of God that is not in accord. We all must work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. So instead of us pointing fingers here, there, let's go like this. Because what I want to empower you with is that this entire life that you live is the relationship that you have personally with God. You don't understand what I just said? Oh, okay. So you say, how's that bigger? I deal with this person, I deal with that person. I got my mom, I got my brother, I got my neighbor. Did we just not go through to the least one? You do unto me. So who are you really dealing with? This whole entire life that you live is a personal relationship with you and your Lord. This entire life you live is a personal relationship with you and God. Same relationship he had with you. You was Adam. Same relationship he had with you when you was Adam. Let's look at some more scriptures. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12. It says, either make the tree good and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by its fruits. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. A good man out of the treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. But I say unto you, every idle word that man shall speak shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. I used to hear that before. When I was a child growing up, I used to hear the elders say, look not at the way the evil man prosper. Look not at how the wicked prosper, because you know not they end. And I could think about it now. I grew up watching guys that were big time, drug dealers, criminals, looked at like it would never, their reign would never end. Drove the fanciest cars, wore the best clothes, rapped on the best records. And now, look where they ended up. Look where most of them are at now. The majority of them I know are either dead, in jail, or in the hospital sick from some illness. But there was a time where they was riding on high. There was a time that from the outside, looking over, I would have thought, oh, wow, I want to be just like them. And I did. Where they at now? These were the people that the people of the old, the people that our family members, our grandmothers taught us about, that we ignore to this day. Look not how the wicked prosper. Concern yourself with your own salvation, because again, this is a personal relationship with you and the Lord. Actually, probably the only two that you could prove that's even really there. Everything else could be just a clear figment of your imagination. Let's look at some more of what this said. This is some good stuff here. You see how good the scripture is? You see how good it is? It's so good you can eat it. Oh, wow. Is that somewhere? Let's see what else it says here. For by thy words shall thou be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Wow. Says, but he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. That us right now? Is that what you people say now? You ain't gonna believe in Jesus. You ain't gonna believe none of that stuff. You need a sign. Is that kind of what I hear? I don't know. Is that what I hear out there? An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonah. Didn't I speak about Jonah an episode ago? Oh, wow, this is good stuff here. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonas, and behold, a greater than Jonas is here. Christ our Lord. We already know. Again, this started out with explaining to you that everything is in the will of God. Everything that happens to us is for the will of God. There will be none of us that will be able to escape judgment. We are all called to righteousness and holy. For those that are law enforcement, for those that have been put in the position of lawgivers, ministry, anything that God has ordained, we are the first that has to work out our fear, trembling first, because I don't want you to think that nobody's sliding out of this. These scriptures is for all. As the scripture said, the night is coming to an end. Time for you to wake up. Time for you to wake up. Many of us have been bamboozled. Yeah. We've been bamboozled. You've been taught something that the truth is a lie. Somehow we think that we know now better than our people of old. Somehow we smarter than our grandmothers and grandfathers now. The people who passed down these very lessons to us. Somehow we became a generation to think that we know better than them. Look at where we at right now. Look at where we at right now. It is time to wake up. God is calling us all to a higher level. He's calling you out of the darkness. Haven't we been wandering around the darkness long enough? Have we been wandering around the darkness so long that we want to stay there? And I know it hurts. Because if you put yourself in a lot of darkness for a long time, then the light all of a sudden come on, you know what the first thing you do? Oh! You've been in the darkness so long. You've been in the darkness so long, so when the light comes on now, I'm here to dispel much of the untruth that is going on. I thank you all, and I, again, make it clear to you, I'm a work in progress. Many of you pray, many of you speak with God yourselves. Speak that God asks him to help give me strength, as I do the same for you. I love you, and as I told you all, I come from Christ Crusader Academy. I am a Christ soldier. I am here to represent the line of tribe of Judah, which is Christ. I'm here to represent what's right, and with the power of God, I will always be here to give you what God has put on my heart to give you. I love you all, and until next time.